Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, та вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
Наші
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 674 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again, and we got some pretty big happenings today, I must say.
And of course, we are going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. And tonight we have some incredibly massive news coming out of the Russian Federation. The Ukrainians have launched massive attacks against Russian infrastructure in many of the major cities near the Ukrainian border, and from what we're telling, some serious damage has been caused already. Before we begin tonight, I've seen many of you all voice concern about our abrupt ending on air last night due to a high level of stress. To be quite brief with you all about what that was about, we are currently, both Matthew and me, but particularly me, speaking for myself, have been going through a lot of stress lately when it pertains to law school and what our future will hold. Law school is stressful in itself. Running law school and running a YouTube channel where 157,000 people are counting on us to also deliver the news is doubly stressful. And the stress has kind of been getting to us lately as the days count down to the start of that next law school semester. And it's kind of started to boil over to nearly a breaking point behind the scenes as we try and decide what are we going to do. I'm kind of still in the process of deciding what I'm going to do, but that's kind of where all of the stress is coming from. Nevertheless, just in case if y'all were concerned about us in the background, that's what it's all about, and it's still something that's stressing me out a little bit, but nevertheless, you know, of course, I want to make sure that we keep covering the news and keep everything running and trying to, you know, keep things as under control as best as possible. But moving on.
But in the meantime, though, big thanks to everyone who left a kind comment and also kind words as well as the live chat last night, because we read them all and we do appreciate all the kind words, because it is very important to get those kind words during the stressful times like these, and we really do appreciate it, folks.
And we really do. I'd also like to add to that as well. We greatly appreciate every single one of y'all and all of the kind words that y'all threw our way overnight. All of the amazing viewers who've been saying great things to us. And also all of our incredible friends that we got to talk to. Well, I got to talk to today. Who also had some things to say about it as well. I got to thank everyone because y'all have been incredibly kind, supportive, and it made this a lot less stressful than it was a while ago. But nevertheless, moving on from that, we have absolutely incredible news tonight. The Russians have launched, over the past 24 hours, a massive drone attack onto Ukrainian infrastructure and Ukrainian territory, and unfortunately, this attack did end up causing a significant amount of damage to decent parts of Ukraine and a decent amount of the major cities. It appears that the air defenses were overwhelmed by this air attack, and by the numbers, it is the largest one in the history of the war, even beating out the largest one that occurred 2 weeks ago. However, the Ukrainians immediately responded with an attack of their own. From what we understand, this could be literally any kind of munitions being thrown by the Ukrainians at the Russians, but one of the clearest indicators that we got of the kind of munitions that the Ukrainians are using are that of drones. We did get to hear the sound of a Ukrainian drone motor flying over a small village within the Bryansk Oblast on its way to the major city. When you hear the sound of the drone,
Ну да. Да, вон он.
we hear him looking up into the sky, trying to figure out where the drone is, and it sounds like it's pretty much flown over them already.
Вон он, да.
That nobody ever thought that a Cub Cadet lawnmower sound would be a haunting sound ever in history.
Dude, they're out there, and like the Russians are going to be terrified whenever they hear someone turn on the push mower. Now they're going to be like, "Oh God, it's hell, it's reckoning."
Not a push mower, bliat.
Not the push mower, but moving on from that little drone apparently made it on up into the city of Bryansk itself, as all the videos we got of explosions happening inside of this oblast came from the city of Bryansk itself, which is a really weird city in its layout. There's almost like 4 completely separate districts of the city of Bryansk. We have this district up here. We have Bryansk Central. We also have the Fukinsky Rayon, and we also have this area over here, which I believe is called the Sovietsky Rayon, or the Soviet district. Nevertheless, the drones started to fly in, and we got videos listening to the explosions and also seeing some of the explosions that were happening near the city. Here's one of them. And right there goes the car alarms, proving, An explosion did happen inside of Belgorod, and that's security camera footage. Moving on to our next one, we also got to see more drone footage showing what may possibly be kamikaze drones hitting some kind of a Russian facility within the city. We can see them looking out into the distance. And boom goes the dynamite.
Ooh.
There's the explosion, an incredibly large one at that. Somewhere in the distance. Sadly, they blurred out a lot of the video that we would need to be able to geolocate exactly where this is and what they're looking at, but we have a pretty good idea that it is some kind of a military installation or some kind of a military depot that is in the area of Bryansk City. Sadly, we just don't really know where. We haven't been able to geolocate that all too well, but we are able to confirm that explosions are happening just merely an hour and a half ago inside the city of Bryansk due to an incredibly large Ukrainian attack in the area. Moving on from that and out of this area and a little bit further on down and into the direction of Belgorod, there was a far larger attack that started to occur in this area. It's something that has been incredibly bizarre to watch because the sound of the explosions is so rapid in this clip that, one, we know that there's air defense involved trying to shoot down these drones, but second, the sheer volume of drones that was used on Belgorod is something staggering, and we've never seen this done before by Ukrainian forces. So moving on into our first clip, we got to hear the sounds of these massive explosions happening in the city of Belgorod. Here's the clip. We can see them looking through a mesh net and looking at the explosions happening outside. And that's the end of the clip, but of course, hearing a little bit of it, we can get the indicators of some pretty high artillery, well, anti-air fire, or an incredibly large number of explosions happening in the city. We also have an additional clip of the explosions that we can hear inside of Belgorod. That one was a more singular, just roaring explosion that happened, but we're still getting a really heavy, strong picture that the attacks against Belgorod and Bryansk specifically were incredibly large. We have heard rumors that there was apparently some kind of an attack on the city of Kursk as well, but we never got any video footage to confirm if any attacks had actually ended up striking inside of Kursk or causing any kind of serious damage. Moving on into our next clip, we could also see near Dubove, just south of Belgorod, that an anti-aircraft system was in action in this area. They called it the 300mm Alder anti-aircraft system, and let me go see if I can pull up the anti-air system. Now, let's see here. This thing is called the Avdiivka, which is a... Let's see. I'm going to say that this is probably not accurate because... Let's see. Yeah, this is not accurate at all because I'm looking at this. The Avdiivka is a Ukrainian variation of the Smerch MLRS, meaning that that would be pretty much rocket artillery, and this is certainly not that. But we can hear the sound of anti-aircraft fire happening over the city of Belgorod, and once again showing that the attack must have been incredibly large in scale. That's the end of that clip, but I think we're all getting a really good indicator that Ukraine is hammering the Russians at this moment. And in our last clip, we can hear the sound of even more explosions occurring within Belgorod. I'm not going to talk through this one because the audio is a little faint, and I want to make sure that y'all can hear the sounds of the explosions. That's the end of that clip. Nevertheless, we can hear an incredibly large number of explosions, giving us a very good idea that Belgorod is being hammered. Bryansk and Kursk may have gotten off a little easily. It appears that there was a couple of explosions that occurred there, but Belgorod is being practically obliterated by drone attacks that the Ukrainians are conducting. This could indicate that the Ukrainians are going to start massive drone air campaigns against the Russians to try and break up their forces near the border, and not only that, to also try and weaken the Russian army's logistical forces that are trying to help out the Russian forces that are actually fighting in Ukraine. Those are a couple of things that we may be able to take from these video clips. But at the same time, the Russians, earlier in the day before this drone attack started to occur, were launching their own attack, and we've seen, for the first time ever, a true evolution of Russian weaponry in this war, as they're trying to make their missiles more effective. Many of y'all know that a lot of Russian missiles are not effective and have not been proven to be effective over a long time in the war, because most of the time they're getting shot down by practically anything at this point. Gepards, manpads, whatever you want to say, it's getting shot down by practically anything. The Russians have finally tried to do something to fix this issue, and they're now equipping flare launchers onto these KH-101 cruise missiles. Now, in the title, it calls them heat traps. Heat traps and flares are pretty much the same terminology for the same thing. A heat trap, or a flare, we're just going to call them flares on this channel because that's what I always call them. The flares that this missile is ejecting burn incredibly hot, and the exhaust of this cruise missile also burns very hot as well. When these flares are ejected, they're usually matching the temperature of whatever that engine nozzle is on the back of the cruise missile, so that way it's showing, you know, to a targeting system on an anti-aircraft gun or a missile, that there are now not just one missile, there's multiple missiles, and that missile now has to decide with its little computer brain which one is the real missile. And of course, with 8 flares in the air behind this missile, the chances of it picking the right target become somewhat slim. These flares don't always work, however. Sometimes the missile is actually able to compute, or in the anti-air radar, or whatever is heat, more so targets based off of heat readings. They may not be able to be distracted entirely by flares. Sometimes the flare's temperatures burn hotter or colder than what the engine of the missile actually is, or what the engine of the jet really is, and that means that those flares are practically useless. But moving on into this, we can see it popping off those flares.
A bomb with flares. That's interesting.
What do you know? You've never seen anything like that before. Actually, we have, but not in the Russian world. It looks like they're finally trying to evolve a little bit to make their attacks more effective. And unlike the Ukrainians, which we're assuming are attacking military targets aside of Russia right now, and that's probably why we won't hear any follow-up info on how damaging the attacks were, rather than a mention here and there, we know what targets the Russians are going for, and that's for the civilian centers of cities like Zaporizhia and Odessa. Of course, the air defense was working all out last night, trying to conduct their Shahed hunting as successfully as they can, like we saw in this clip, while they play probably one of the most copyrighted songs ever imaginable. We can see them pulling off the side of the road and immediately opening fire on a Shahed, attempting to shoot it down.
And they got that Batman spotlight on it too.
And we can see them firing the drone. We can actually see the drone flying directly over the air defenses as they are lighting this thing up. We see them continuing to fire. And in the clip, we couldn't tell if they were able to shoot down the drone or not, but we did get to see that inside the city of Zaporizhia, damage had been caused by apparently some successful drone attacks or missile attacks. This is just a normal street within downtown Dnipro. And we can see a decent amount of damage. Of course, rubble flung everywhere. We can see a house pretty much entirely destroyed.
And what region is this again?
This is in the Zaporizhia Oblast in the far south.
Oh. How close is this to the nuclear power plant? If you know.
Kind of far. It's maybe like 60 miles.
Pretty far away then.
Yeah, pretty far away, but still a decent amount of damage caused, and unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, however you would like to look at this, we have not been able to get any casualty figures from these cities because the casualty figures haven't even been compiled yet. We don't know if anyone's been wounded or killed. We just know that the attacks did end up hitting their targets, which of course ended up being civilian targets again today. Moving on from Zaporizhia and on into the Odessa city area, we also saw that some damage had been caused to Odessa from drone attacks as well. We can see multiple pictures here showing practically an entire floor of this apartment building being blown out by an incoming Shahed. We can see that the Shahed hit somewhere on the 4th floor of the building and practically wiped out several floors of it, and also caused some raging infernos inside the building as well. These kinds of attacks, you cannot say it's Russian ignorance that led them to attack this apartment building. Considering that it's not the ground level, obviously there's no defense that can be made by the Russians saying they actually meant to attack Ukrainian forces that were based in the ground floor of the building, so that's not true. And another thing is that you can't mistake this high-rise apartment block for a military target. It doesn't look like a barracks, it's not on a military base, but the Russians went out of their way to attack this thing again. This is all they do. We never see them attacking Ukrainian military targets. Very rarely have we ever seen that in the war. And whenever it happens, we actually do get documentation of it. But it just hardly ever happens. It happened at the beginning of the war somewhat. We saw for every 4 civilian targets they would hit 1 military target. But right now, we're not seeing that anymore. It's entirely civilian targets that the Russians are going for, and we can see the Ukrainian citizens in Odessa trying to deal with this as best as possible. Meanwhile, in another clip, we also saw more damage that was caused by the air attack, and this was actually on the maternity ward of a hospital. This fire is actually burning inside of it, and the Shahed pretty much rammed right into it. We can also see more angles of the attack and the subsequent fire. We can see a car that was destroyed in one of the blasts. This, of course, was all documented by the Odessa Oblast, showing the damage. And, of course, incredibly unfortunate to know that Ukrainian citizens are always under the threat of being snuffed out by pretty much a Russian attack that could be classified as terrorist in nature. There is nothing that the Russians have done so far in this war to make themselves a redeemable party. And especially with attacks like these that continue on, showing that the Russians are more than happy to deliberately go out of their way to target this kind of civilian infrastructure and to knock these people out. And to try and knock out their way of living, to knock out their electrical supply or their heating supply, so that way they'll freeze to death over winter. It's once again showing that the Russians are certainly not a great group of people, or a nice group of people for that matter. They are very questionable and diabolical with their kinds of motivations and the way they think they would be able to win a war through pretty much starving a population to death or freezing them to death. It's very inhumane, of course, goes against the modern ideas of what a war should be, of course, avoiding civilian casualties as much as possible. And I gotta say, it is very despicable just on every single degree. We've seen that the Russians, of course, in the meantime, have started to become very concerned about the fact that the Ukrainians have been able to shoot down an incredibly large number of their aircraft, and these aircraft sometimes are the ones conducting these attacks on the Ukrainian infrastructure. And no more notably was that happening than on the 22nd of December when we got the reports that 3 Su-34 fighter bombers had been shot down in the area of the Kherson Oblast. Up until now, we had not actually gotten a lot of confirmation on the Russian side, rather than there had possibly been a casualty, to say that they had lost a decent amount of equipment, or any aircraft for that matter, until today. Nearly a week later, after those losses were sustained by the Russian Air Force, it has finally been confirmed that all 3 Su-34s were shot down, and out of that, 3 of the 6 pilots that were in these aircraft were killed. This is an incredibly good thing to note because it is showing that the Su-34s were airborne, were shot down, and we now have an exact number of the casualties. We're assuming that the other 3 pilots that have survived are most likely in Ukrainian captivity at this point, although we have not heard any actual confirmation of that or any picture or video evidence to show all of y'all. But here we can see that from a Russian telegram, and specifically from Kirill Fedorov, who is a part of the Russian government, he said they completed the task at the cost of their lives. This Friday, December 22nd, the Su-34 crews, loaded with bombs, flew to save our infantry, and successfully dropped 12 500 kilograms of FABs from the UNPC onto the enemy, destroying more than 100 enemies literally in seconds. Wow, that, of course, they have to go and embellish the casualty rates. And also, another thing is that based off this report, we can see that our original assumption was in fact correct. The weapons that they were using were not glide bombs. These were 500 kilogram FABs, which are just your normal 500 kilogram bombs. This means that our original conclusion that these Su-34s were possibly flying over a village like Krenki, dropping the bombs, and then having to fly over Ukrainian territory and then turn back is incredibly possible, considering the kind of munitions that were stated in this telegram post. The enemies secretly bringing up the Patriot air defense system from our respected partners caught some of the vehicles on retreat and maneuver, once again confirming that apparently these Su-34s were flying over Ukrainian territory trying to retreat back and towards the airfield when they were shot down, once again confirming that our hypothesis on the story was at least correct at the time on the 22nd of December when this news initially came out. Unfortunately, the lives of 3 of our hero pilots were cut short. I wouldn't call them heroes, but that's subject to whether you're a Russian or not. All of them from the very beginning of the war, and never gave up even the most suicidal tasks, because the motherland is most important. And I love to know that they have the priorities straight.
Why would they need to send them in for a suicide mission anyway if they had stuff under control? Isn't that only like a last resort?
Yeah, and also considering that they're saying that they destroyed like more than 100 enemies literally in seconds, they're saying that they destroyed pretty much an entire company of Ukrainian infantry, and yet that hasn't changed the frontline conditions in Krunky. I mean, there's not a lot of Ukrainian soldiers in Krunky from what we know. There's probably just several hundred. So what they're saying right here is that we dropped some bombs and we ended up killing pretty much a third or nearly a half of all of the Ukrainian defenders inside of Krunky right now. That is pretty far-fetched, and of course showing that the Russians are embellishing the propaganda as usual. But moving on from that, I will tell the stories of the guys and how their comrades were saved in a separate post, or maybe even in a video. We have a very difficult but correct tradition. All Russian pilots know that if God forbid something happens to them, then we, all the people, will help their wives, children, and mothers with bags of onions and potatoes. We can't bring back father, son, and husband, but we can help the family 1 million rubles, as we did already many times, and he had to put that in bold. If less is collected, then at least 500,000 each. So we can already see that he's backing out of the original promise of 1 million rubles for each of the family member, each of the wives of the pilots who died. He's already backing out of that by the end of the post, but this is confirming that those Su-34s were shot down and the losses were sustained by the Russians. It is also...
So if a Russian family loses their son or their father or something in the war, then the people might get a $50 donation or maybe a $25 donation, depending on the damage.
Let's see real quick. Ruble to dollar. Well, let's see here. Oh, look, they've cooked the books again, and the ruble has gone up in value once more.
It's fluctuating between pennies.
It's literally fluctuating in between 11 cents and 11 cents. That's how low it is. It's a massive change. But anyways, let's go and check this out. So 1 million. So that is exactly for each of the wives of the pilots who died. That is $11,000 for each of them. Or if they can't raise that kind of money, then they're only getting 500,000 rubles each, which means they're getting approximately $5.5 thousand.
Damn. They might be able to eat for a month.
For the Russians, I mean, that's not that, when you really think about it, considering that the Russians have like a median income of like 11,000 US dollars. I mean, that's not that bad, but still, it's not much. To put that into US terms, that would be like a family getting $40,000 for the death of one of their loved ones in a war. That would kind of be the equivalent to that on an American scale, considering, well, actually, the median income is somehow around 60,000 US dollars now. I remember when I was growing up, it was around $40,000, which wasn't that long ago. But nevertheless, it isn't that large of a sum. It's kind of peanuts, and especially considering that these guys were pilots. Pilots are much rarer than your normal infantryman, even just in a US or a Western scale, and it's just kind of a little lame to think that, these guys are kind of a little tough off. And also I see some people saying that it's actually 1.1 pennies. Let me go check that out. Ruble to dollar. Oh, oh my goodness. Y'all are correct. One US dollar, one Russian ruble is equivalent to 1 cent, 0.1. So y'all are actually
It's a tenth of a penny.
It's a tenth of a penny. It's 1 penny and a tenth of a penny. It's not 11 cents. I misread that. So thank y'all for catching that. But still, that is pretty wild. And also, let me go see if there's a payout that the U.S. military gives. U.S. military payout for death of a soldier. Let's see. The Department of Defense, according to My Army Benefits, provides a one-time lump sum death gratuity of $100,000 to the primary next of kin of a service member who dies while on active duty. That's actually quite high compared to the Russian standard, because the Russian standard, if we're going with 500,000 rubles, which is probably what's realistically going to happen, that means they're getting half of the median income of a Russian over the year as their one-time like gratuity payment. The
That's
department,
honestly higher than I thought. I didn't even know the U.S. did a one-time payout for a deceased soldier. I thought that was something only foreign countries did.
No, actually, we do. It's something that's not really talked about a lot because, of course, the grief of a loved one being killed in war is usually what's talked about the most. But there is a payout, but that's still considerable, considering that the U.S. median income. And let me go pull that up. U.S. median income. Just make sure we have the chart here. Actually, according to this chart, U.S. median income is only $31,133. So that's actually 3 times the amount, according to the public figure, you're being paid as a one-time gratuity compared to what the average U.S. American makes on a year-to-year basis. So that's actually an incredibly high payout. And when you compare that to the Russians, and let me go type in Russian median income. Let's see. I'm doubting that.
Yeah, that's crap right there. There's no way.
Let's see. So that's 100,000 rubles per month. So that means they're making. Then that means they are actually making somewhere around like $11,000, $12,000 a year based off of that.
And the cost of living in Russia is like almost equivalent to America, isn't it?
No, it's actually considerably cheaper. Like for Russians, making $11,000 a year is pretty much. Well, it's still not on par standard of living wise to an American making $30,000 or $40,000 a year, but it is still, good. I mean, that's pretty much the middle class in Russia is making around $11,000 to $12,000 a year. But you still don't get all the qualities and creature comforts that an American would get if they were middle class and in the median income bracket. But moving on from that, we can tell based off of all of that Russian payouts aren't that great. And also considering that they're kind of iffy on it, it seems like it has to be a public fundraiser. Apparently, the Russian government is not really giving out any time of one-time gratuity payments at all, and this is having to be done on the side by like a group of people. But with that, we're now moving on from that little bit of news and on into the area where these aircraft were shot down, which was near the left bank of the Dnipro River. We got to see today that the 11th Brigade is continuing to attack Russian forces in this area and try to knock them out as effectively as possible. And we can see the drone coming on in onto a Russian APC. And we can see it's been hit and it's blowing up. And John Underwood actually said that it is a $400,000 payout. That's the SGLI payout on the death of a service member. So I would agree with you, John Underwood, but we did get the $100,000 figure from myarmybenefits.com, which is a extension of the U.S. Army's website, official website, that is. But I'll look into
I saw
that.
some folks saying that $400,000 is the payout for a deceased Ukrainian soldier in Ukraine.
Oh, wait a minute, hang on. 400,000 US dollars or 400,000 hryvnias? Because I think it would be very different if it's in hryvnias.
I think people meant USD, but I'm not entirely sure.
Let's see. Ukrainian payout of a dead soldier. Let's see if they have one. So, as for the general provisions of Ukrainian legislation, according to the decree of the Cabinet of Ministers number 168, a payment in the amount of 15 million hryvnias is guaranteed to the families of the dead military member. So let's see. Hryvnias to US dollars. So the hryvnia is just it's actually almost 3 times as valuable as the ruble, apparently. So let's put in 15 million. So that actually is, according to this, nearly $400,000 that each family member, well, just the nearest of kin, is paid when a service member dies. I would actually be curious if that's possible, because that is an incredibly expensive payout. That's even, from what we know, 4 times higher than the U.S. payout for the death of a service member. And, the U.S. military has I believe it's an $800 billion budget to work with. This would actually be very expensive for the Ukrainians to keep up, even if several hundred soldiers were dying a day. Let's say just as an approximate, there's around 200 Ukrainian soldiers that are dying in a single day. Let's just say that. And then let's go and just round it up to 400,000. That means that they're paying out around 80 million US dollars a day in pretty much gratuity payments for the death of service members, which would be very high. But that if we're taking that as true, because that did come from an official Ukrainian website, that is an insanely high payout. That's actually bizarre, even for most Western countries, from what we're able to tell. But moving on from the 11th Brigade knocking out Russian vehicles in the area, we also saw that near the village of Veliki Kopani, the Russians have set up a mock-up of a Pantsir. It's not a good one because it's literally on the back of a Ural, and it doesn't even really look that good compared to a normal Pantsir, but it looks like they're trying to draw in some Ukrainian fire, but I do not think that this thing is going to be successful at all in doing its job. So with that, we're now going to be moving on, and I actually see some people in the chat saying that, let's see. Oh, so thank you for sharing that, John Underwood. He said, SGLI is the serviceman group life insurance for $400,000, a military insurance policy. The $100,000 is an immediate payment to handle immediate needs of the family. So from what I'm getting from that, John, you're saying that the U.S. Army will pay out $100,000 immediately, and then the insurance policy of that soldier will then pay out another $400,000. So pretty much a U.S. family is getting around $500,000 for the death of a service member, or really the next nearest of kin. So thank you for sharing that.
I don't mean to rabbit hole either. This is a quick question for the audience, if y'all know, or maybe the enforcer even knows. Is SGLI a private insurance company, or is that something that is provided by the military?
SGLI Insurance. Let's go.
It sounds private.
Let's see. So this is from the U.S. Department of Defense's website. So let's go take a look at this, because it is important to know about what kind of benefits. Let's see. SGLI offers low-cost term coverage to eligible service members. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs provides life insurance as an important benefit to assist with securing the financial future of eligible members' families. Let's see. To find out if you're eligible, you have to meet these requirements. So
it's government-sponsored, so it's not private.
So it's not private. This is a government-sponsored insurance program, meaning that they will pay us. It pretty much guarantees they will pay out.
It's guaranteed.
So going off of that, we can now see, well, actually, the SGLI maximum coverage amount will increase to $500,000 effective March 1st of this year. So actually, it's now $500,000, not $400,000 on the insurance policy. So including the $100,000 immediate payout directly from the U.S. Army, and then the $500,000 payout from the SGLI's insurance policy, a family member of a dead soldier is going to be getting $600,000 when they die on the battlefield. So that's actually way higher than we originally thought it would be. The Ukrainians are paying out around $400,000 for the death of a soldier, $400,000 US dollars, which when you put that onto a Ukrainian scale, that is wildly high. I mean, that is incredibly high, because the average Ukrainian makes somewhere around 20,000 US dollars annually. So when you say they're getting $400,000, that means that they're getting paid pretty much 20 years of salary to the next of kin if a service member dies, which is a huge payout. This is also massive as well. I got to tell you, it is. Of course, the Russians cheap out on this; they don't pay. But it is very expensive to lose a soldier.
I would say, in many different ways.
Yeah, very many different ways, but on the financial side of things, it is actually very high compared to what I would think. And I've seen some people in the chat say, 400,000, 100,000, that's not that high, for someone who's died. And I get what y'all are saying, like on the morality side of things, no amount of money will ever bring anyone back. It's just, it's comparing apples to oranges there. But sadly, the government can always pay out massive amounts to every soldier that dies. It's kind of a reality of things. There's like not an unlimited pocketbook there, and that's something that people like to bring up all over the place, here, there, wherever they like, haphazardly. But, considering that if there was a major war and hundreds of thousands of soldiers were to be killed, they can't pay millions for every single soldier that passes. I still would say that this is an incredibly high payout, though. Put into perspective, that could buy you an incredibly nice house really anywhere in the United States.
It is. And also I saw Ms. Disa say it's insurance that has a premium for coverage. So apparently you pay monthly for it, even though it's sponsored by the government. That's kind of interesting because, I don't know about life insurance, too in depth, But I think private life insurance won't cover you if you like voluntarily went into a war zone, if I'm not mistaken. It seems like that'd be a logical thing to have in the contract. But, you know, I've never really like looked into service member life insurance before. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's actually, that's an incredibly interesting topic. Sorry, because I see some people are like, can we move on? But it's incredibly interesting to us because we've never really looked into that side of war, into what payouts are for the death of kin, or the death of service members into their next of kin. But with that, we're now going to be moving on from that little side note of news and on into the location unknowns. Well, actually, really quickly, we're going to be moving down towards Russia because with those Su-34s being lost that we're talking about in Kherson, and that's what brought up the whole rabbit hole of how much does a dead service member, how much does a dead service member worth according to the military to their next of kin. We can see that the Russians are getting very concerned that airbase attacks could start to happen again anywhere inside of the Russian Federation, and they've begun to create the paint-up decoys on the runway. We can see two of them here in Krasnodar, and I'll be showing y'all where this airfield is in Krasnodar. It's right outside of Krasnodar city. So let's see here. I believe it's right here, actually. Yep, I think that's the one. Let me make sure. This is, in fact, the one. And it appears that they are on the pad right about here. Somewhere about here. And it looks like the satellite is looking at the same area. And that has the 09 on it, correct? That's 08. Hang on. Is there another airfield near Krasnodar that I'm not seeing? There's the international airport. That does not count. It's not a military airfield. So we're going to assume it is this one. Let me check the number on this side again. That's 26. Nevertheless, we're going to assume it's this airfield just to get this across. We can see that they have some Su-34s on the tarmac, and then we can see it painted on decoy right to their direct left. Once again, the decoys are not that easy to spot at a quick glance, but if you give a look around the runway, you can clearly tell that they are, in fact, decoy. Actually, they have a geolocation right there. It's in the Krasnodar Oblast, not Krasnodar City. So it's somewhere up here. And I'm sure we're about to find the runway number 9. And there it is, runway number 9. So this is, in fact, where they are at. And when this picture was taken, it appears to have been the base for a close air support wing with a bunch of Su-25s being here. But now it's home to several air wings, including what appears to be some MiGs, maybe MiG-29, SMTs, or MiG-31s, and then some Su-34s further down. Of course, getting back to the talk about the decoys are easy to spot if you give it a moment and you look at the field. You can see that they don't cast any shadows onto the tarmac, and therefore they are painted on. There's no dimension to these paintings. They're just literally painted onto the tarmac and cast no shadow, clearly showing that it is a decoy. But still, interesting to see that the Russians are taking those efforts, because it is showing that they believe that this airfield, as far away as it is from Ukraine, is most likely a target. And they're not wrong. Really, every airfield inside of Russia, as far east as Saratov, is a target for the Ukrainians. We've seen them do it before, and it's entirely possible that they may strike this airfield just due to its close proximity to the battlefield. But moving on from that little bit of news and the aircraft being shot down, we know of many things that the Russians have been freaking out about lately, and one of those things is actually drones. Drones have become a very big part of the war, and a lot of people have tried to figure out how to shoot down these drones. Kind of a smaller and much cheaper extension of an armed force than an aircraft or a helicopter, but they still end up being wildly effective, especially for their price point. The Ukrainians have started to try and also find out ways to take down these Russian drones, and one of the most interesting things I've ever seen has finally come around. Many of y'all remember that way back last year we talked about using a shotgun to try and bring down a drone. And a lot of people laughed at us and said that that was silly and shotguns are ineffective and they never work. You have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a single anti-drone gun that may or may not work instead of just birdshot or buckshot taking down the drone, through kinetic energy. But it appears that the shotgun is finally starting to win out. And this is something I think is very important to show. This drone here is a brand new one that actually has a built-in one-shot shotgun. It fires the shotgun at another drone and takes it down that way. So it's an airborne shotgun, a one-use shotgun.
How does it handle the recoil, though? It seems like it would knock it out of the sky.
Great question. I'll show you right here. There it was firing, and there goes the other drone right down to the ground after being hit. And we can see how they line it up and firing. And then we see that drone goes down.
Surely that's like a decreased load or something, because it barely budged the drone, and that seems like it would have knocked it around a lot more if it was like a full-on shotgun round.
That's a good point. I don't really know how it's handling the recoil or how strong the recoil is. Maybe it's a smaller, like a 24 gauge barrel on this drone instead of like a 12 gauge or something like that. Because the recoil on this thing was practically non-existent in this clip.
I gotta say though, that's pretty sick. That's like the southern way. Roll Tide.
Yeah, the redneck way. But a really smart idea. Because, you know, if you get good with these things, hell, you could even shoot down a drone that's on the move. You could try and lead the target and then shoot it down. We also know that this version is a single shot shotgun, but there is, of course, the possibility that you could try and improve these things where they could make a semi-automatic version that is able to self-load and maybe carry 3 shotgun shells into the air. Some of y'all are throwing in different ideas. A lot of y'all are saying it's probably a 410. And I would not throw that out of the question. It may be a 410. 410s are pretty light in recoil and a fairly good shotgun round on the smaller side of things, but it still is a very interesting concept, and we'll be seeing if the Ukrainians start to implement that across the battlefield. But moving on from that and into our next location unknowns, we also got to see a Ukrainian helmet save the life of a Ukrainian soldier. This picture is here says, "I immediately say, not mine, my fighter, he is fine, I'm for the second. Wear hard hats issued by the army. They really work." This is a high-cut helmet that was issued by the Ukrainian Armed Forces, most likely provided by a Western nation. And apparently, I would assume that this thing is a level 4 helmet, which is somewhat rare, but they are starting to be issued in the U.S. military and in some other Western militaries around the world. This thing hardly even got dented. Really, the paint was just scratched on this thing, and that was about it. Most likely from a rifle caliber round. It appears to have worked incredibly well, and that is something very important to note. Hard hat protection in the military is something that's fairly new and only came around about the last century, since World War I. Since then, it's been making massive leaps and bounds forward, especially here in the Western world, as infantry survivability has started to become a serious topic and something that a lot of money, research, and efforts put into, and also, of course, fielding forces that have this kind of body armor protection. We can see that it's certainly starting to work quite well and is able to save lives. Of course, the helmet is only a part of the armor protection. There's a whole lot more. There's, of course, the actual plates that you put on the body. There's even the idea of trying to get leg plates, although leg plates aren't really common, and they also add a good bit of weight. So we don't really see those a lot, but we do see a lot of chest plates and also helmets, and it appears that these are working incredibly well. Moving on from that and into our next bit of location unknowns, we also get to see some just like a hodgepodge of foreign mercenaries. They're inside of Russia, and they are equipped to the worst standards possible. Here's the clip. We see some of them right here.
Из Сомали, да? А как зовут?
Я чуть-чуть русский.
Хорошо.
Адиль Мухаммед.
Понятно.
What language is he speaking?
India.
Oh, he's Indian.
Откуда? Сирия.
He's from Syria.
И все вы приехали.
What was the first guy? Was he from France or the Middle East, or which one?
Let's see here. Let's see what he says.
А как зовут?
Я чуть-чуть русский.
Хорошо.
I can't tell. He said Ruski is something. Somalia? Apparently, because there's only 3 guys in the clip, and it said Somalia, India, and also, what was the other one? Let's see, Syria.
Приехали защищать нашу родину. Освобождать от нацистов. Вот сегодня, хорошо, вот сейчас Света скажет слово.
Ребят, мы на передовую приезжали с ребятам, и очень было отрадно увидеть вас из других стран, которые приехали защищать нашу родину, нашу страну, нашу Россию. Низкий поклон вам от всех россиян, потому что вы настоящие...
What the hell's up with this guy's like vest here? Look at that. It's like covered in like lint and like random craft stuck to it.
Всех россиян, потому что вы настоящие, мужественные, смелые бойцы.
And this guy's plate's got nothing in it. You could tell because it doesn't even have any form.
Мы гордимся вами. Вот, я хочу вручить перчатки вам, вот, на память, как талисманы. А тебе
Is this a granny talking to him?
Потому что твой размер мы не знали. Мы только узнали, что сегодня, что...
The borscht will be ready soon.
А вас уже знаем. Вот,
Россия, наша переморие. Но победа, это великие частины войны, блядь, это сука, блядь.
Clearly, though, these guys are like super uninterested in whatever's being said.
Ты не сказал, что это перчатки в твоей руке. А это
For you to kill and see red western bastards, put on these gloves,
Да,
блядь.
это перчатки, я тебе даю.
Это хорошо, блядь, это спасибо, как дело, блядь, так походу. Это что, великие частины войны, блядь.
قلت لك انه واحد هي بتفتخر فينا انه نحن اجينا من بلاد ثانيه لانه نحن يعني رجال حقيقيين واجينا
He likes the gloves. He motioned, I'm the captain now, right there.
وهلا ما قلت لك انه هذه كانت لابسين وعطيتك اياهم
Да.
Oh, yeah, some gloves. Yes, sir.
А это тебе от командира. Вот, тебе должны тоже
Whoa.
по один.
Нет, ему, наверное,
Это Баба Яга, блядь.
Нет, померяй.
You got those Russian colors on. That's the wrong colors.
Ну вот как раз.
Как раз?
Тебе
Так
завтра
раз,
привезу.
блядь.
Покажи свою руку.
На кашу съела, блядь.
Слушай, у нас еще 3 человека есть из Индии.
Слушай, это Россия, нормально, блядь. Это сука, блядь,
Ну,
она.
я видела твою руку. Все, вам привезем на память от нас, от России, приедете домой. Эти перчатки будут и в бою, и так талисманом.
вас благодарим.
The whole thing's a patriotic speech, by the way. I can't really understand a lot of it, but she's saying something along the lines of,
You have to protect our gracious motherland, блядь. The Russian land, блядь.
something like that. It's literally something along those lines, and she said it for 3 straight minutes.
This guy right here got gypped with the gloves, by the way. He got the little, like, cloth ones, and the other guy got the proper ones.
Yeah. But that's the other clip, and goodness gracious, I don't think they're doing well getting mercenaries like that. But we also got to see a brand new Ukrainian machine gun today on a brighter note. This is a brand new anti-material machine gun, chambered in 14.5 or 12.7, and they're being tested at the moment. They look pretty good. They kind of look like an upgraded NSV, in my opinion, but hopefully we'll get to see some more videos and proof of these things in operation, so that we can get an idea of how effective these are. These may begin to be equipped on vehicles or something similar, because, you know, of course,
We have to make sure that the Ukrainian people can kill the Russian bases, блядь, and bring the Panama that everyone's looking for. Slava Ukraine, hurrah, Slava, блядь.
But anyways, moving on from that and into our next clip, we also got to see the Russian casualty report over the past 24 hours. And it was pretty damn good. Ooh!
Oh, it's juicy, I'm telling you. Look at that. 7 Bobcats.
Oh,
Lovely.
man. 7 Bobcats destroyed. And Matthew, you know, if you think those 7 Bobcats were destroyed, you ought to see those 37 hilarious misunderstandings that make a funny Photoshop fail. Down here on the bottom
dear.
right. That's 12 oopie. Anyways,
Whoa. What
Whoa,
the hell
Jack,
kind of
whoa.
apps they got going on Twitter these days?
Yeah,
Good lord.
goodness gracious, man, I don't know. You better watch out, though. That's getting close to Romania. Jeez Louise. But
It's
anyways,
getting close to criminal,
oh
actually.
goodness. I can't tell what's going on down there. Like you say, halfway on screen, and I'm not scrolling down. But anyways, 850 Russian soldiers have been knocked out over the past 24 hours. And a very good figure, along with 18 armored personnel carriers, 35 supply trucks, 13 main battle tanks, 26 artillery systems, 36 drones, 3 MLRSs, 3 anti-aircraft warfare systems, and 1 other boat. They're starting to destroy boats on a fairly consistent basis at this point, but the losses are quite good. And I gotta say, it is wonderful to know that the Ukrainians are able to destroy the Russians at such a consistent pace. It's keeping the Russians at bay, and it's making sure that the Ukrainians have a much better chance of making it through this war. But we're about to be moving on into the war that the Ukrainians have made it through for another 24 hours. And there's been a lot that's been going on throughout the entire ordeal. And I gotta say that it is something to note. But a lot of y'all have been talking about things that have happened throughout Russia today, throughout the world today, in Ukraine. A lot of y'all have been talking about that major attack that occurred inside of Russia from the Ukrainians and what kind of damage it may have caused. And a lot of y'all have also been talking about something I didn't include in the news tonight, which is the Polish forces had to intercept an unknown aerial object that had flown in from the Ukrainian border. But Matthew, what have people been saying about these kinds of things?
All right, so moving on to our first poll and question segment. Our first poll says, a suspected Russian missile entered Polish airspace today, and what will be the response? 51% said NATO will tell Poland to ignore it. 24% said they need to investigate first. 18% said Poland will invoke defense measures, and 8% said unsure. And on this one, the context is very important because, for one thing, if y'all recall, a missile was lobbed into Poland by accident a long time ago. I think it was over a year ago now. And it turns out that it wasn't a Russian missile after all. So it could be the same thing this time. It looks like it happened during a mass attack on Ukraine. And maybe one of the missiles happened to veer off into Poland. And, we don't know all the details yet. That's the most important thing. We have to figure out exactly what happened before we can reach a conclusion. But on this one, if it is true, I think NATO will tell Poland to ignore it. Because I don't think NATO is ready to jump into a war with Russia. And I don't think Russia's ready to jump into a war with NATO either. So I think people are going to try to tamp down the tensions and not let it get too out of hand. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say that NATO may ignore it. I'm sure they'll investigate it first and then figure out what the response will be. But it seems as though the NATO response at the moment is that if no one's getting killed, it's not that big of a deal in their mindset. I would not take that kind of a mindset because it's one that seems somewhat weak to me. I'm not saying, start firing off the missiles immediately if something like that happened, but at least make some kind of a firm response to it that will show that the next time something like that happens, it's going to be rather unfortunate for the Russians and the Russian world. That's at least what I would go with. Also, by the way, some of y'all may be hearing that now the U.S. is saying we may do something against the Houthis, but that's an entirely different thing. And to be honest with y'all, I feel like that kind of reaction time diplomatically is somewhat slow. We've been talking about that for a while and saying that there should be a strong, firm response to what the Houthis are doing immediately. Instead, we've let this stuff go on for a while now, and now we're going to try and stop it once they've been emboldened to know that NATO may not do much, or really, the United States may not do much. I don't like that kind of precedent, and I don't think that's one that we should be laying out across the entire area. So I think we need to investigate it, and I also think that if it is found to be a Russian munition that flew in, we need to react to that accordingly and treat it as a violation of NATO airspace and Polish sovereignty. I feel like that would be an appropriate response, but seeing how we've responded so far, I'm sure that we're going to go, no big deal, nobody died, so we're just going to, move on and not say anything about it. But that's, still a little lame. Also, another thing I'd like to say really quickly, because here's something I gotta say really quickly. I'm not going to talk about this too much, but today I saw something where someone was saying in the U.S. government that the U.S. should go to war with Iran pretty much and just start blasting the hell out of them because it's going to get rid of all of our problems in the Middle East. And what I find funny about that is, from what I understand, this exact same person is also saying with Ukraine, we don't have the money and we shouldn't be involved in other corners of the world. So they're saying two different things, and I'll tell you why. And this is something you'll see on both sides, and I just want to make this quite clear for everyone because it's something that I said a while ago, and now we're seeing it, and I know how it's going to go. Right now, the President of the United States, as you all know, is a part of Group A. We're just going to call him Group A because I have to put this out there really quickly because this is something that I think is very important to remember. Group A and Group B are always going to do the opposite of what the other group is doing. Group A currently supports Ukraine, so naturally, Group B is going to act like they're kind of indifferent to it, and half of them are also going to act like they don't like it at all. But then when Group A is somewhat hesitant in the Middle East about, just going into a war or supporting anything or anything like that, then Group B wants to go, we ought to get involved in a war down there. So just notice that, because I will put money on this. If Group A finally decides, you know what, we need to go to war with Iran, I will bet you money Group B will go, we don't need to be in that war. And if Group A never does anything in the Middle East, Group B will continue to insist that we should be in a war somewhere in the Middle East. And then if Group B ever gets in charge, they will go to war. And then Group A will go, wait a minute, we shouldn't be involved in wars overseas. That's how it happens. That's why I don't like mainstream news, and I also don't like politics to be included in our show because it's just opposition for the sake of it, and there really is. It's just pointless, to be honest with y'all, because I will tell y'all this, and I know this is going to be a shock to everyone, but if Group A wasn't the one in charge right now and it was Group B, the war in Ukraine would still be going on, and Group B would be the one supporting the war, and Group A would be the one condemning them and calling them warmongers. That's how it works here. And that's why I just don't get into the stuff, because as far as foreign diplomacy goes, it is just opposition literally for the hell of it. It doesn't even make any real sense. But moving on from that, I hope that does address that poll quite well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so we're now moving into our Super Chat questions. And up first, we have a massive $200 donation from guess who? The Walter A. Lakota Jr. And thank you very much, Walter, for that support. And he says, aloha, the Enforcer Matt, and LSA from OG Ellison Bosun. Excuse me. He says, well, first off, Happy New Year, the Enforcer Matt, and LSA. And it seems that the AFU might have some surprises in the coming new year in military operations. And he says, Hawaii, fun fact, the Sun Yat-sen went to Lolani School in Oahu.
Oahu. And also, thank you so much for the support, the massive amount of support, Walter A. Lakota, and thank you for wishing us a Happy New Year. And also, I hope you have a happy one as well, and a Happy New Year. And also, I would say that hopefully they will have some surprises, because it looks like they may be doing some stuff in the background, kind of super secret mode, I guess is the best way to say it. And that's something that we have been noting as well. We haven't really seen it in action yet, but maybe we'll see it next year. Also, let me make sure that Sun Yat-sen. Okay, I have to make sure about this one. Yes, this is the guy I was thinking about. Sun Yat-sen is the fella who was the first leader of the Republic of China. Now, really quickly, I have to say this because I know someone's about to be, no, those filthy commies! The Republic of China is modern-day Taiwan. And way back in the day, back in like the 1920s and the 30s, the Republic of China actually was China. Like, when people said, you're going to China, they meant the Republic of China. It was a semi-democracy, semi-oligarchy, really anything. If you want to call it, if you wanted to call it anything, even a dictatorship, it was kind of all of those things combined. It was an attempt to try and make a Chinese government. It didn't work that well in the 20s and 30s, and that's why the communists got a little bit of traction. Chiang Kai-shek would end up being the guy who was the real ruler of the Republic of China until his death, and also
Shanghai Shrek.
Yeah, just to kind of get y'all in on how corrupt the Chinese government may have been. The Republic of China's government may have been, at least at that time when Chiang Kai-shek was in control. During World War II, American service members who had anything to do with the Chinese or the Chinese government ended up nicknaming Chiang Kai-shek Cash My Check, because pretty much you could just bribe him to do whatever you wanted. So that was something of a little bit of a fun note. But nevertheless, I hope that does address that fairly well. And thank you so much for sharing that, because that is really cool to know that he went to the Lolani School in Oahu. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support, Walter, in helping this channel to keep on running. And I wish you a Happy New Year as well. And thank you so much once again for being here with us tonight and helping us to keep this channel rolling. It is, of course, folks like you, the few and the far, who help this channel to keep running, that make this thing possible. Hundreds of people support our Sunday fundraisers, and all of that support goes entirely to Ukraine. But not a very large amount of people actually support the channel. And so y'all's support is greatly appreciated, because very few of y'all take the time to make sure to help us to keep the channel running. So we are always greatly appreciative of the folks who make that possible. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And thank you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Hal Rose, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you, Hal, as very much as well for that very generous support. And Hal says, Enforcer Matt, for the law school fund, and pick a question, please, and Slava Ukraine. And it seems to be that Hal is voting for law school. And Hal, I have to say, I like that fund. I still like it. And also, by the way, folks, Hal wants us to pick a live chat question. But I'm running a little bit low tonight on live chat questions, so if you could, send some in to @Enforcer Matt so I can add them to the spreadsheet as well. But thank you, Hal, once again for that support. And here I'm Slava.
And thank you so much for the massive amount of support, Hal. and thank you for supporting the law school fund. Now, I have to say, I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit because we're kind of on the fence. You see, law school is really tough, and also it's very stressful as well. And it also is very stressful on top of that to run this channel. A lot of kids in law school pretty much dedicate their entire lives to law school when they're in it, and use their free time after school to be able to try and study and keep up on things. Running this channel adds an extra dimension, at least for me, because while Matthew doesn't really have to like do much for the channel until we run the stream and then some afterwards, I pretty much had to get home from law school and then immediately start working on the stream. So I rarely ever had time to read over things or study on it while I was doing that. So that made it very stressful and very tough for me because I hardly had any time to even sit down and think, or really even any time to sleep for that matter. So that is what makes it a little bit tough for me to make the decision, because I really do love doing YouTube and I want to make sure that we keep up our promise of covering this war. But at the same time, with law school going on in the background, it does make it a little difficult. But I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, Hal, and supporting the law school fund, because I'm still kind of, considering, what to do and where to go in the future. But with that, I got to thank you so much once again for always being behind this channel, Hal, always supporting us and always helping us to keep this thing running, because if it wasn't for folks like y'all, we wouldn't be able to be here right now to even ask this question. Y'all's support has made it possible for us to pay our bills and also get through law school up till this point for us to even ask this question. And we owe every single thing that we have done to every single one of y'all, and thank y'all greatly. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And Matthew, what do we got for a live chat?
All right, so we did get a little bit more live chats in this time. We have one from TS, who says, any update on the loss of a Russian Tu-22M3?
Tu-22M3. I have not heard about the loss of a Tu-22M3. We do know that some have been damaged, especially at the Ingles Air Base near Saratov several months ago, but I haven't heard about anything today on a Tu-22M3. Those are usually kind of further behind the lines, and we haven't really heard or seen much about it. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, I got to thank you so much once again for sponsoring that live chat, Hal, and helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And thank you so much once again. And we are on to the final question of this segment, and then we're moving on into the Frontline news.
All right, and the last one of this segment goes to Enforcer for President, who throws in a $50 donation. And thank you, Enforcer for President, very much for that support as well. The longtime channel legend, by the way, and a legendary username, I must say. And they said, helping with stress by starting a massage fund, excuse me. And that tells you where my mind's at. And I said, we love you like family. And take one from the chat. And LSA for life. And that's what I'm talking about. LSA.
And LSA for life, baby. And thank you so much for the support, Enforcer for President, and helping this channel to keep on running. Of course, I love your username, and I got to thank you so much for voting for me for president in 2040. I know a lot of people are like, Enforcer, you practically hate politics. Why would you get into it? It's because I hate it. And I got to thank you so much. Everyone's like, what? How the hell does that make sense? Let me explain a little bit of my logic here. I hate politics. I hate the way it functions. So what I would want to do is I'd want to get in there and do the things that need to be done. And you can largely guarantee I'll do them because I hate the system enough that I'm not going to just sit around and really just like lather myself in it and just writhe around in the political system. I just want to get stuff done and get up there, get it over with, and then move on. That's really what I'd like to do. And I got to thank you so much, Enforcer for President, for already putting in that vote for 17 years in the future in 2040. Also, thank you for trying to support a massage fund. I'll tell you this, though. I'll be honest with y'all. A great thing that helped out with my stress today was hanging out with some friends. And they're amazing friends. Some of the few that we actually have in person, because our friend group in real life is quite small. A lot of the people we knew back in high school are either, not here, or they are moving on to other places. So we don't really get to talk to them much. And we didn't really make a lot of friends in high school either that were really like, endearing friends. Only one that I can think of.
I still talk to a few, actually. I actually still do. But it seems like ever since high school, moving on to college, a handful, and then law school is even less than that. It's like the older you get and the higher education levels you get, everybody starts losing time for their friends and stuff like that. So, it's good to have a couple.
And I would agree with that. And but I will say this: the friends that I hung out with today, I don't know if they're watching. They may be watching. They said they may. But they were incredibly fun to hang out with. Some of the best friends you could ever ask for. Very supportive, very nice. And not only that, they really helped me to, get de-stressed today, just, going out and having fun with them. So that was something that helped out a great deal. And massages, who needs a massage when you have amazing friends like those? So if they're watching, y'all know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean. But nevertheless, thank you so much for saying we love us like family. We love all of y'all like family, and that's why we try and be as honest as we possibly can with y'all. Of course, not wanting to, tell y'all everything that goes on behind the scenes, but as much as we can. And I got to thank you so much once again for being a longtime viewer, a channel legend, and making sure to keep this thing running. And also, we will make sure to take one from the chat. And of course, long live the Lee Spring Army. And so with that, what do we got from the chat, Matthew?
And going back to the chat, we have 3 live chats left, so I need more, people. I need more. But anyways, the next one goes to Mariachin, who says, how are partisans organized in Ukraine?
Partisans are organized in Ukraine in atypical ways. There's really no way to explain how partisan groups are organized. Of course, partisans will always have some kind of a commander of their group, and that's really all I can tell you, because there's not really a lot known about partisan groups and partisan efforts until after a war is over and their area has been liberated, and then they come out and they say, I was a partisan, here are my stories. Then we get to know about their organization and how they worked and operated. But right now, sadly, that information is going to be very hard to come by, because the partisans must keep their operations very secret and how they function, because otherwise they'll be compromised and it'll be a lot easier for the Russians to find them and root them out. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are going to be moving on into the next one. And not the next one, we're actually going to be moving on into the northeastern segment of the Frontline News. And we got one clip today of the 43rd Brigade stopping a Russian advance. Here's the clip. Oh, wait a minute, hang on. We saw this. Oh, we saw this yesterday. Yep. All right, sorry everyone. That is a duplicate. For some reason it looked new when I saw it today. That is in fact a complete duplicate. Moving on from that and down into the area of Kremenna, however, we did get a brand new clip down here that I know of, showing a Ukrainian sniper taking out some Russians inside the Azov forest. Oh, there he is. Oh, ding! Looks like he got him. Just about with that. The scene of the clip.
Like an airsoft gun, really.
Yeah, it kind of did. What in the world? Let's listen to that again. Huh.
I guess he popped him with a pellet.
I guess so. I guess so. Dude, that thing sounded kind of jank. But anyways, he did take the guy out, so it was a fairly effective hit. And we can see, of course, some slight goings on, at least in that area of the Kremenna forest. Moving on from that, and a little bit further down the lines, we got nothing from Bakhmut today. It was practically quiet down there, so sadly we don't have anything to report. We can show you all the front lines, though, over the past 24 hours, which hopefully it updated, and it did. So let's see what we've got over the past 24 hours. It appears that the Ukrainians took a little bit of ground near Avdiivka, but the Russians also took a little as well, so it was almost like an even exchange in that area. And so now moving on from that, and into the next area, a little bit further down, and in Avdiivka, we did get to see that the Russians are still attempting their advances into the city of Avdiivka. I'll be showing you what that has looked like over the past 24 hours. They have not moved an inch. So y'all can see, they're still doing as badly as they were at the beginning. But moving on into our first clip, we did get to see a Bradley firing on the Russians in this area. Alright, we're going to be muting that. But we can see the Bradley firing onto the Russians near this tree line. It's Stepove. And we see it now backing up. I got to tell you, in the winter, the powder coming out of that barrel is very visible. It's almost like a black powder gun.
Old school, I'm telling
you. Old school. See them hitting some Russian forces further down the line.
Somebody got a notification from someone.
And that's the end of the clip, but showing this Bradley effectively working in the area. And it seems like the 47th is really really picking the Bradleys for most of the fighting action compared to any other vehicle in their inventory. But moving on from that, we also get to see the Russian infantry fighting vehicle was hit at the same time today by an FPV drone. This was filmed by, I think, a Ukrainian soldier in his trench. We hear the drone flying around. And there it goes, hitting the IFV and knocking it out. Dude, you can hear someone yell, FPV, bleh. Dude, he's like, I got that on camera. Listen at the end, listen. You look like said FPV. Oh, man. Well, how nice, how nice. But with that, that's the end of that clip. Very nice to see that they were able to knock out a Russian IFV. And moving on into the southern area of Avdiivka, we also saw that the Russians are now starting to use TOS thermobaric launchers on Ukrainian forces near the southern area of Avdiivka. I'm going to be muting this. This was actually published by the Russians. But the TOS seems to be hitting in a location where there's no thermal heat signatures of Ukrainian forces. So we don't know if they're hitting anything at all. They may be hitting nothing.
With the Russians, that's very likely they're hitting nothing.
Yeah, they're probably not hitting a damn thing. It's just like, that's the honest truth. And with that, that's the end of that clip right there. Gotta say, pretty interesting to see them firing a TOS. Doesn't really look like it was that effective. We'll actually be circling back to this because that's actually the speech from Zelensky tonight. It's like a minute long. But moving a little bit further down the lines and towards Lazove, we did get to see the 59th Military Police Brigade has been destroying Russian reconnaissance towers that are trying to gather information on Ukrainian forces. Have you ever tried to Russian
yes, I do.
tower? Well, watch this right here as they get this little bastard right on the mark. Watch it as they fly the drone right down into it and cram a high explosive right down its throat. Check it out as they put up the key group. Make sure to get yourself some brand new keys for this all-new Ukrainian drone. Check it out.
Why they got to put it in that font, though? Why is it running down the wall like something? I don't know.
Man, it's like gushy gush. But anyway, slow.
Wow.
Slow. But with that, that's the end of that clip. Nice to see they were able to take out a recon tower. And moving even a little bit further on down the lines and into the area near Novoprokopivka, we got to see some Russian forces getting hit by a Granaten. Now, really quickly, I would like to thank a viewer. Sadly, I cannot remember your name because... Oh, wait a minute. No, I can. Mad Jack F. I gotta thank you for this because I'm going to take this off screen and check it real quick before I show it. As you said, oh, watch out. Don't show that. So let's see if we can. Oh my goodness. Chunky bits. Well, yeah, you're right. I can't show that on stream. That would be a little rough. So, you know what I mean? I can't show that on air. If y'all want to see it, though, y'all can click on the link in the description below for the day 674 map and go to this area near Novoprokopivka and then watch it yourself. But sadly, I wouldn't be able to show that to y'all on air because that's going to be a little too rough, a little too tough. Now, really,
are you saying that the people can't see the chunks that they want to see them? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling you, they can see the chunks, but YouTube is not going to want us to show hot dog meat. You know what I mean? Like the hot dog.
And they also don't like hot dog sellers either.
Yeah. But also, really quickly, while I have no clips on this, and the Middle Eastern news segment has kind of wound down to almost not showing up on this channel at all, I would like to take a quick moment to talk to y'all about what's going on in the Middle East, because it does appear that things may be escalating enough again that we may actually have a Middle Eastern news segment on this channel here soon, if things keep going the way they're going. And of course, I can give no guarantees, because the world of diplomacy is a real back and forth when you never really know what's going to happen until it's something that's physically happening. But what we're hearing right now is that the U.S. has finally gotten fed up with the Houthi attacks on commercial and military vessels in the area of the southern Red Sea, and now we're hearing reports from U.S. officials saying that the U.S. is ready to respond with armed action against the Houthis if need be. That's what we're hearing at the moment. It seems as though things may be escalating. We're also hearing calls from U.S. politicians, like I was mentioning earlier, that we should start to pretty much level the Iranians inside of their own nation and maybe even invade them with ground forces to try and overthrow their government and install a new one. We're starting to hear a lot of more fervent and martial talk than we've ever really heard before here on this channel. Of course, inside of Israel, things are kind of going on the way they have been. The IDF is in the Gaza Strip, continuing to try and demilitarize the area and also to try and wipe out the Hamas fighters there. And we also see that they're continuing strikes in southern Lebanon as well, as they're trying to continue to knock out the Hezbollah fighters that are there as best as possible, although it appears that Hezbollah just keeps popping up. Beyond that, however, it does seem like things may be getting close to being kicked off again. And I want to hear, Matthew, has anyone been saying anything about that in the live chat? I don't know if we've run any polls on that, but I know that some people have been talking about that a little bit.
Now, in the Middle East, we haven't run any polls on that tonight, and also haven't honestly seen a ton of people talking about the Middle East either.
Interesting. I just want to make sure, though, because we don't have any video or picture clips of this stuff, but you're going to have to take me as a trust me bro on this. We are seeing some things that may be indicating that further action will be taken in the Middle East, where we're able to start covering the segment again. Because I know so many of y'all wondered, where did it go? And the honest answer is, it disappeared because we didn't really have anything to cover. We cover everything off of video and picture evidence, so, we try and show y'all what's actually going on instead of just talking about it, like a lot of people do, because they want to make sure to appease YouTube so they can make a lot of ad money, but we don't do that, because we don't even have ads, so we don't even care. But at the same time, there was like 4 or 5 video clips coming out of the Middle East per day when we finally ended that segment, at least temporarily. And we always want to make sure to provide the highest quality news coverage that we possibly can. And we can't do that if there is no video or picture evidence coming out of an area. So that's why we have not been able to cover the Middle East at all for about the past few weeks. But I guarantee y'all that if things do kick off, we will be back down there and back covering it like we were before. It will be its own news segment, and every once in a while it may even become the main title and premise of the show, coming before the Ukraine war news segment. But that really just depends on what the future holds. I just want to make sure that y'all know that, though, because we've had, I think, like 1 or 2 people come up and possibly even try and accuse us of bending our knee to YouTube, which is not true. We did not care what YouTube thought. We took the hit and we just kept this thing running, although it has ended up affecting the channel pretty decently. Beyond that, we're still going to run the news the way we can, and whenever we do get enough news, we will make sure to start covering this segment again. But with that, we are now going to be moving back to Avdiivka, because we have a 1-minute speech from President Zelensky tonight as he stood in front of the entrance to the city of Avdiivka. Here is the clip. Well, more so, here is the speech.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Авдіївка, наші позиції, наші хлопці. Україна тут захищає свої, захищає увесь наш народ, як і на всій лінії на передовій. Донеччина, Харківщина, Запоріжжя, Херсонщина, лівий берег. Це важко, це біль, це втрати. І це люди, які на собі тримають життя України. Тут життя виборюється. Ми вдячні усім бійцям, кожному солдату, матросу, сержанту, кожному офіцеру, які виносять цю війну на собі. Дякую всім вам, воїни. В Авдіївці разом з командою привітали воїнів з Різдвом, з Новим роком. Усі, хто на нулі, хто захищає нашу країну. Безмежна вдячність всім рідним, кожній родині наших героїв. І усім, хто допомагає, хто працює, щоб у хлопців на фронті було все необхідне. Усім в світі, хто вірить у нас і хто робить все, щоб Україна змогла більше. Пам'ятаємо, що вирішується в цій війні. Захищаємо нашу державу. Слава Україні!
And
Slava.
And with that is the end of the speech tonight from President Volodymyr Zelensky, and that's beginning our next segment of the news, and getting to talk to all of y'all about all kinds of interesting things. A lot of y'all always have very interesting things to throw in input-wise on y'all's opinions on some of the major topics of the day. And of course, today is no exception. There's been some major events that have happened, and a lot of y'all have had y'all's take and y'all's opinion put into the live chat on what y'all are thinking. And Matthew, what have people been saying?
All right, so moving on to our final segment with polls and questions. We have one poll to address, which says Ukrainian politician says Zelensky has no money to mobilize 500,000 soldiers. And what are your thoughts? 50% said he's exaggerating and playing politics. 23% said unsure. So 16% said the USA can fund the mobilization, and 12% said, where did the money go? And on this one, I'll be completely honest. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here because it seems like Ukraine should have enough money to mobilize these soldiers if needed. But at the same time, this sole politician is saying there's no money to do that. So at first glance, I would like to say that he's playing politics and exaggerating because I haven't really heard anyone else say that except for the one politician in Ukraine. And it seems like there's still money available. And also, Zelensky hasn't made an issue out of that himself. And why would Zelensky announce mobilization if he doesn't have the money to get it done? So, Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that's probably a bit of a stretch because mobilization is only a matter of getting the men into the military. Most of the equipment is probably already there, or they can get it fairly cheaply. So I would say that's probably a stretch. And also, if this is just some, junior minister of the Verkhovna Rada, he probably doesn't really know a lot about the financing. That's probably something that would go to the treasurer or something similar, who would actually know a lot about the financing side of things. So with that, I hope that addresses that well, in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and that was our only poll to address, so we are moving on to our remaining Super Chat questions. And up first, we have a $50 donation from guess who? Monsieur Gaston. Monsieur. He puts in that 50, and thank you very much, Monsieur, for that support. He says, for the Special Friend Fund.
And I thank you so much.
Special friend? What does that mean?
I don't know what
Paying for friends.
I don't know what the special part means in the quotations. But
I think I get a gist. I think I get the gist, if you know what I mean.
I don't get the gist. I'm missing it. But nevertheless, I got to thank you for the massive support, Monsieur Gaston, and helping this channel to keep rolling. And thank you for supporting the Special Friend Fund. I hope it's not special in the bad way. I hope it's special in the good way. Because friends that are great to have. And of course, great friends are the best to have. There are such things as different kinds of friends. And I got to tell you, we've been able to make great friends through this channel. So many great friends. But we also have some great friends that we just happen to meet off the channel. And I got to tell you, they are just incredible folks. Very fun to hang around all the time. And not only that, they are very similar to us in many ways. It's actually kind of bizarre because you sit there and ask them a question and then they give like the same answer we would give. And we're like, man, are they like ops? Like, are they CIA ops? I'm just kidding. But they're still great to have around. We absolutely enjoy them greatly. And thank you for supporting the Special Friend Fund, because the next time I hang out with them, that'll probably be spent on ammo, because they are trying to get into marksmanship shooting, and I'm trying to help them out with that a little bit, at least as much as I can. I'm not like a master marksman or anything like that, but I might be able to help them out a little bit in that degree. But with that, thank you so much once again for the massive amount of support, Monsieur Gaston. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be live on air right now. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to Marion Deemer, who throws in a $30 donation as well. And thank you very much, Marion, for that support. And Marion says, Russia sucks, and Slava Ukraine. And truer words were never spoken, and Hirom Slava.
And thank you so much for the support, Marion. And Russia does suck, but sadly still, although it does suck, it does not suck as much as Chris's mom. But I do thank you for the support, Marion, and helping this channel to keep rolling. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this thing on air. And we wouldn't be able to tell y'all how much the Russians suck. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that as best as I can. And of course, thank you once again for helping this channel to keep rolling. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Bryce Varney, who throws in a $20 donation, and thank you, Bryce, as well. He says, thank you, guys.
And hey, thank you so much. Thank you for enjoying the channel, Bryce, and helping the thing to keep rolling. I got to thank you for supporting it because, you know, I say this a lot, and it does sound like a broken record, but it's a very true statement. Support like yours helps us to be here and helps us to make this thing possible at all. And we got to thank everyone who does support the channel. Because while the fundraisers are great and all, we do have to make sure to keep this channel running, and y'all's support does make it possible. Of course, we would try and run this thing with support or without support if we had to, but without support, we could probably only run it for so long, because of course, there are things in the background like rent and everything else that we have to make sure to take care of to be able to run this show, and if we weren't able to take care of that for long, you know, then we are in trouble, because living ain't free, and, you know, sadly, sadly, it isn't sometimes, but At other times, you know, it's just the way things are, and it is completely understandable. But still, thank you so much once
You
again.
can't even breathe for free. They're charging you for that now too. If you want some air, it charges you some money.
Man, I'm telling you what, man. Like even every breath is just stressful. It's just every breath is stressful. It's like, oh god. But still, with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that well, and thank you so much for making the channel possible. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to LSA Sergeant Figment, also known as Sarge, who throws in a $20 donation. And thank you very much once again, Sarge, for that very generous support. He says, I'm glad to hear that you're doing better. And when I was in the IDF, I often took trips to Haifa and visited the Haifa Gardens. And the view from there of their harbor, actually, always relaxed me after a difficult jump. And take a look for yourself.
Let's see here. It looks like this is the Haifa Gardens right here. Let's take a look at this thing. What do we got? Oh, wow, this is really pretty.
It is. Wow, that is beautiful. It looks expensive, I must say. I always have to say that. It looks very expensive.
Dude, oh my lord. This is really nice. I didn't even know this was here. And look, they made a Pantheon. Really cool. I like this a lot.
It is sick. I gotta say, man, that is cool.
That is sick as hell. Thank you for showing this to us, LSA. LSA Sergeant Figment. I don't know why in the world I always cut it off at LSA, because it's like thanking the whole army. I want to thank Sergeant Figment especially, because this is just something right here. Gorgeous. Beautiful. You know, if I ever have a bucket list of places to visit, I'm going to go here, because this is gorgeous. Like, this would be worth the trip. And look at that. I mean, how cool. Is that a 1-to-1 scale replica LSA Sergeant Figment, or is that like a scaled down version? Because I know that, like, in Nashville, we actually have like a 1-to-1 scale replica of the Pantheon that you could find inside of Athens, Greece's Acropolis. Like, I know we have one in Nashville somewhere. Let's see. Pantheon. The Parthenon, sorry. Yeah, let's go to there. There it is. This is okay, so that one over there in the last picture is certainly not a 1-to-1 scale replica. This is, however, and it's actually built the way it would have looked in ancient Greek times instead of how it looks now. And it's really cool because kind of it's like the best representation possible of what it really would have looked like back in its prime before the fall of the Roman Empire. Well, actually, hell, before the fall of the Greek Empire, because the Romans actually started to kind of change it a little bit. And crazily enough, not to rabbit hole too much on this LSA Sergeant Figment, but maybe this is interesting to everyone about Parthenons, Pantheons, all that kind of stuff. When we go to the Acropolis in Athens, Greece, which should be in the middle of the city, there we go, the Acropolis of Athens right here. Let me go show you all this Parthenon. Because what's very interesting about this thing is that while it's in terrible shape these days, it actually went through a lot of changes throughout its life, and for a decent amount of time, I think it was all the way from like the mid 1550s up until about the 1830s, the Parthenon was actually a mosque and had minarets built onto it during the times of the Ottoman Empire.
Oh.
Nobody really knows that stuff, but the Parthenon went through a lot of changes and upgrades through its life. And what is crazy is that the Parthenon was actually in really good shape up until about the 1800s or so. It ended up getting blasted by artillery in the time of the 1800s because it was a war. There was a defending force using the Acropolis in Athens as a defensive fortress. So it ended up getting hit by loads of cannon shot, and that's kind of what ended up taking out the Parthenon. Before then, it actually was in pretty okay condition. Let me see if I can actually find y'all the Parthenon in the 1700s and kind of show y'all a little bit of what it looks like. Let's see here. So this is about the best I'm going to be able to get y'all, is this Minecraft map here, because this is accurate for the most part. This is accurate, weirdly enough, for the most part. This is what the Parthenon originally looks like, the one that we see in Nashville, which is the replica of it during Greek and Roman times. But it did get updated a little bit during Roman times to, you know, worship Roman gods instead of Greek gods. Although they are very similar, there are still minor differences that required upgrades and modifications. This little model here, this example, is actually what it looked like during the early times of Christendom, because it was converted from a Parthenon for what the Christians at the time were calling the pagan gods, and then it was converted to one of the first Christian churches inside of Greece. Then, once the Ottomans took over the area, I believe that would have been around the 1300s or 1400s, a little bit later, they finally ended up modifying the the Parthenon into a mosque. And you can actually see the little replica of the minaret that they built onto the back of it right there. And then finally, you can see the last example, which is what it looks like in the present day after being subjected to shelling and artillery fire during the Greek War of Independence, which was supported by the British and French around the 1820s and 30s. But beyond that, it's a very interesting kind of evolution that this building went through, and it's kind of all underserved because the only thing people think of now when they look at this thing is what it was during Greek times, instead of every piece of history that it lived through in this area of the world. It lived through a lot. But still, with that, I hope that does kind of give a little bit of a rabbit hole on something cool we saw in those gardens in Haifa. But nevertheless, thank you for showing us that LSA Sergeant Figment. I didn't even know such a beautiful place existed in northern Israel, and now that I know, I will have to eventually get there and check that out someday. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to John Panciotti, who puts in a $20 donation as well. And thank you very much, John, for that support. He's a longtime channel legend, by the way. It says, Gloria al Pinguino in Ojada. I have no idea what I just said. Hopefully it's good.
Let's see. I think, let's see. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
What does it mean?
I think
it looks like German.
That is Spanish. that is Spanish. It says "Glory to the Angry Penguin," which means "Glory to Angry Penguin."
Hey, let's go!
Thank you so much for the support, John Panciotti, for the support. Panciotti. But thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. I gotta say, Angry Penguin is a real penguin right there. He's an angry one.
He's so angry.
Man, he's so angry. But nevertheless, thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you so much for giving a huge shout out to Angry Penguin, because he is our pangling. But with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well.
A what?
He's a pangling.
Interesting. I've never heard that terminology before. I gotta say, first time ever.
Hold up, hang on. Now I gotta go pull up the video. Oh man, I gotta get you all the context for that one. Benedict Cumberbatch saying penguins. All right. Yeah, here we go. This is where this is from. Let me just turn this up a little bit.
Is penguins. Crested penguins. Parent penguin heading
Penguins.
home. So why are these woodlands so attractive?
Wait a minute, go back to that penguin a minute. Fast forward. Okay, you ready to pause it? He said, "What? What'd I do? Come on, man."
Dude, that's how you go for a hug from someone that's like your family.
or that's what you do when you can't see, you don't have your glasses on, and somebody's walking through going, "I can't see. Where am I? Where am I?"
Dude, that's
man,
how
show the picture. You had to have the context. We're looking at trees. What?
But also, really quickly, let me round out the video because I think he said panglings at some part of it, and that's where I got that from.
So why are these woodlands so attractive to penguins?
There it was! Panglings, right there. Panglings. That's where I got that from. That's why I said angry pangling, because I'm getting it from this video. Listen to that again. Well, wait a minute, I gotta go back a little bit more.
So attractive to penguins.
Panglings.
Panglings.
So that's the context behind my joke, because it fell flat with Matt. He was like, I don't get it. That's why I said pangling. But anyways, with that, I thank you so much once again for the support, John Panciotti, and give it a shout out to Angry Pangling, because that's what I'm calling them from now on, Angry Pangling. But anyways, with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to Old Warrior, who puts in a $20 donation. And Old Warrior says, "What about making that shotgun recoilless like the recoilless rifle?"
Interesting idea. I don't really know how that would work for a shotgun, because with the recoilless rifles, I think it was the case that they didn't have a lot of velocity to them because they were recoilless, and about half of the force was vented straight out of the back. Like if we look at the M67 recoilless rifle, not the Remarco, the recoilless rifle. There we go. If we look at this thing, which was a fairly common recoilless rifle in U.S. service through the 60s and the 70s, half of the force was vented straight out of the back of the recoilless rifle, and the other half was sent forward, meaning that these shells had an incredibly low velocity for what they were doing. And I think if we were to, you know, put that into practice with a shotgun, I feel like it wouldn't be that effective because shotguns are already not that high of a velocity. And I feel like having their velocity from that point would pretty much just be showering the drone in pellets that may not even cause serious damage, but only moderate damage. Also, another cool thing about this picture is that this is clearly from a training exercise, because you can see that little blank adapter on the front of this M16 here to help it fire blanks.
Interesting.
Really cool. Like, just a cool little tidbit there. But where in the world was this picture? They don't say. They don't say.
You don't say.
Oh, here's a South Korean using an M67. They're still used a little bit to this day, but not in America. Anyways, with that, I hope that does address that a little well, because it's a great question. I just feel like it probably would make the shotgun a lot less lethal to the drone. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one's going to go to Vlad Lozo 1111, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much for that support. And he says, Enforcer and Matt, I'm busy, but I will talk to Ukrainian politicians to give you Ukrainian citizenship once the war is over.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support, Vlad Lozo, who threw it a 20. And thank you for the offer. That would be pretty neat to have a citizenship of another country. And, you know, that would be pretty neat to go over there every once in a while and just see what's going on around there. You know what I mean? I think that would be cool. So thank you so much. And whenever you're free, because it does look like you're apparently the great leader Kim Jong-il in the profile picture, make sure to go over there and take a look. We'll see about it. And maybe we can get some citizenship, you know. But still, thank you so much once again for the kind words of support and the offer as well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Norman Alzen, who puts in a 20. And that Norman says, for the New Year's Eve fund, or for the ammo fund if you want, and slow Ukraine.
Hey, and thank you so much for the New Year's Eve fund. Very interesting fund right there, and thank you for that, Norman. And also, I will have to say, we don't really celebrate New Year's Eve much, because New Year's Eve is kind of a drinking celebration more so. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people love New Year's Eve for that reason, but we don't really drink at all, as a matter of fact. So I do thank you for the support. So I think we're actually going to put that towards the ammo fund.
You said it so suspiciously. He said, we don't drink at all. Not at all.
But anyways, I got to thank you so much once again. And we don't really drink, not to put it suspiciously, but we will put that towards the ammo fund most likely. Let's see, nowadays that would buy like a box of 223 and maybe a few spare rounds. And when I say a box of 223, I mean like a 20-round box of 223. And that is crazy to me, because I remember when 223 used to be like 35 cents a few years ago, and now it's creeping up towards like the 60-cent mark normally, and that's just insane. But nevertheless, thank you so much once again. Thank you for helping this channel to keep on running, and of course, Slava Ukraini, and thank you. Thank you greatly. Thank you. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Vance Hicks, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Vance, for that support. He says, Enforcer, I read a CIA guy said that if Russia can't its act together, I think he meant to say can't get its act together, and the war drags on, his own party will bring him down. And is this possible?
I would say probably not, because the United Russia Party kind of serves as a vehicle for Putin. It's not really a vehicle for others, and there's not really a lot of say in the United Russia Party. It is literally just a pro-Putin organization with no values beyond just supporting Putin alone. So I have a feeling that his own party would probably never oust him, because the party is nothing more than a amalgamation of a political machine to support Putin only. So if they tried to oust him, there wouldn't really be a reason for United Russia to exist. Now, let me make sure I'm saying that correctly, and let me go check out Boris Yeltsin. And let's see what party he was in. My boy Boris, he had blood in his alcohol. But let's see here. Let's go check.
How'd that happen?
Oh, dude, he just drank so much alcohol. He ended up outnumbering the blood cells in him. But let's see here.
Poor fella.
Poor bastard. But anyways, let's see here. Presidential election. Let's see. Unambiguously condemned the Soviet intervention in 1968. What a man. What a legend. He would end up, you know, leaving kind of in disgrace, but let's see. Oh, hey, look, there we go. Confrontation with the parliament. That's fun. Anyways. I can't see anything about his party. So I hate to tell y'all, I can't tell y'all if he's a part of the United Russia Party or not. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let me look around a little bit more. Here's a second term. Yeah. Resignation. Here we go. Dang, his approval rating was 2%. Oh, buddy. I don't think any U.S. politician's ever gotten that low ever. But let's see.
It'll happen eventually.
It will happen eventually, but not today. Just not today. Probably
sooner
not
than later, actually.
Well, let's see here. Happy dipped. I just can't really find anything. Golly. Dude, he looked horrendous. He looked like a damn little goblin back then.
He looks like a ghoul or something. That's really the way he is on the inside today, except somehow he got his body doubles to fix him up.
Dude, you know what this man is saying at this funeral?
My precious, my precious.
He's like that little goblin on Lord of the Rings.
You know that guy? Go back to that picture for a second. That guy over there on the left, he rings a bell. He's eyeballing something. I don't know. Who knows what he could be eyeballing
I'll
over
tell
there.
you what, that secretary over there is looking damn good. I'll tell you that right now. Let me go run down to the McDonald's real quick. And then this guy, I don't know what is wrong with his face.
That's George H.W. Bush.
No way. Wait a minute. Is that really him?
Yeah, that was him.
Hold up. Oh, it says it right down there in the caption. Dude, why does he look so different than when he was in office?
They're all looking like they're a little on edge at the ghoul standing in front of them.
Well, I'll tell you something. This isn't the Oval Office. I don't have a cigar with me right now. But anyways, I can't tell y'all if he was a part of United Russia, but I'll tell you that United Russia, at least in the modern form, really does exist as a vehicle just for, the promotion of Putin. So I don't think they will throw him out, because that would just be completely against what the party even exists for. So with that, I hope that does address that well, Vance. I feel like that CIA guy may be speaking from a point of optimism. But beyond that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Jay Bagwell, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you, Jay, for that support very much. And it's good to hear from you once again. He says, this is Running on Empty Hood Review. Gary, Indiana. And I gotta love it. I love it, Jay. I'm glad you put that in.
This is Running on Empty Hood Review. Oh, no. Oh, dude, he picked the worst. Dude, I didn't even click it in my head until I saw it was a part of Chicago metropolitan area.
You know, SpongeBob said, Gary, come home. But he wasn't talking about the city, I'm telling you.
Dude, he said, get the hell away from me with the city. Oh, no. Dude, you can even tell it's bad from the air. Let's go down there. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, this is rough. Oh, my Lord.
I think they need to mow their yard a little bit.
Oh, my God. Dude, this place is abandoned.
That's weird. The windows aren't see-through in these houses.
Yeah. That one's barred up. That's a community center. I don't think it...
Man, that window's bricked up.
Dude, that thing be bricked up. Let's see. Gosh, dude. There's people living here.
In this one.
There's people living down... Dude, this is a rough place to live. Good Lord. Hey, look, the church is not in bad shape, though. That is the Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church. Interesting.
Man, this area right here is like one of those places you hear about, like the gangs taking people to kill them. Like, this is the place you imagine. Dude,
this is what Fallujah looked like in 2007. It's just rough. I mean, oh my Lord. Well, the church, it has an elevator?
That's for disabled folk.
Well, yeah, that's still wild, though. It has an elevator. I mean, like, an external elevator. I know it's for disabled folks, Matthew, but, you would think they'd just install, like, a ramp or something near the front.
They could. It might take up too much space, but it's always good to have an elevator.
Also, I gotta respect that for some reason, they ended up bricking up the windows and then putting in these glass cubes, and they did it right on every window but that one. Something went wrong. Something went wrong on that one. But these two are okay. I think someone got a little sloshed when they were putting that one together. But
that one's saying, "Begone, demon!"
Begone, demon! Oh, look, and then we have like some okay apartments in the middle of it. Not bad. But the rest of this town, though, oh man, oh wait, man, this is rough. The last time Street View came through this place was 2019. That's telling us a lot. Good lord. We got to make it to the main street in this town, which is down here. Let's go see what the main street's looking like. Wait a minute. Did I see that right? Hold up.
What's it say?
Work 1 Gary. There was something else here. It was like Grift Task Force. So I was like, what the hell is a Grift Task Force? Let's see here. Let me go.
I got a hot dog seller they might want to talk to.
Let's see here. Where the hell did it go? It was there. Let's see. We got there. It's Grit Task Force. What is this?
That's when you don't cook the grits right. The grit task force comes out this shack right here. Goes
Dude,
to get your ass.
I ain't getting any of their grits, man. Whatever grits they got like glass and stuff in them. I'm not having any of them grits. But let's see here. Let's now drop back down on the street. What does Gary look like down here? Okay, this is better. Not that much better, but it is better. So let's see what we got. All right, so we have... Kind of looks like Bessemer, Matthew.
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't even think Bessemer looks as bad as the bad side of Gary looks like.
No, I don't think so. I think they're taking the punch up here in Gary. This is, I mean, I can't say this enough. This is actually a rough place. Like, whoever's living here, God bless them, because they're going through rough times, just living. But what's on the billboards down here? Gotta get here. Soul food, just for you. Barbecue, and we got a sexy hog. Look at that sexy hog.
That hog said, "Hey, buddy, you want this apple? Come get it."
Dude, that hog said, "I'm gonna piss on it." Let's move on a little bit further down. We got ourselves the township assessor, and we also have the mayoral candidate. Gary deserves better now. Melton for mayor, and then they blurred out his face for some reason. And then we got Prince 2023. Paid for by the committee to elect Jerome Prince. I'm going to tell you...
Is that the same logo and everything that the singer used? Like the same font and everything?
I'm pretty sure it is. I feel like there's a copyright infringement lawsuit coming around the corner. I'm sure many people on YouTube would be very unhappy to hear the copyright exists. But anyways, let's move a little bit further down the street. So we got Hellman's Tire Service, because you got to be in hell to need a tire serviced in this place. But let's go further down the street. Wait a minute, what's that? Credit repair. Bad credit? I think you got worse problems than credit in Gary. Not gonna... What is that over there? Accidents injury law. That is a attorney, apparently.
I was about to say, that's got to be an attorney wearing that old nasty hat. That's got to be... Why do attorneys have the same look? They all like wearing the old suit and stuff like that, the velvet suit, the old hat. Like, why'd they got to do it, man? You smell them from a mile away.
Always kind of sweaty looking. You know. But let's see. Discount liquors. Well, we got the liquor store, so we're not in bad shape. And wait a minute. They've named them. They've numbered them. Economy discount liquors number 13. This is like Soviet school number 20 or something. It's a liquor store that is numbered. So apparently there's 12 other ones in the city of Gary. And then we got the cop.
And there's a cop.
Oh shit.
That's shocking.
And then we got the Citgo. You got to have a Citgo.
Everybody's shaking in their boots. The cops going by. Oh.
Losing faith in God? I feel like that's a common question asked in Gary because of how terrible it is. Losing faith in God? Well, let me tell you, Gary will do it to you. Let's see what else they have in Gary. I think we're starting to move. Oh, wait a minute. We're dead center of Gary right now still. So let's go towards Bormann. Why the hell? Wait a minute. Wasn't there a German called like Hermann Bormann? Let me go. Hang on. Hermann Bormann. Apparently I'm mistaken. There was some Martin Bormann. Wait a minute, hang on. Let me go type in Martin Bormann. He was some guy who was a little important in a German government in the middle of the 40s, wasn't he? Yeah. Yeah, he was. Martin Bormann. Bormann Square Park. What do you know? Wow.
Raggy.
Like Soing Scoop. I think there might be a couple of Nazis. Raggy. But Bormann Park looks like an atrocity would have happened here. I'm not going to lie. It's not, like, mowed and the sidewalk's gone, so pretty rough place. I'm not going to kid y'all. What the hell is that, a prison tower? What is this? Hang on, we got to go down there now. Where is that tower? It's right here. So it's Indiana American Water. What is this?
Damn. They've imprisoned the water here.
Dude, even this place is so down bad, just like the steaks we got today. Dude, wait a minute. You weren't there for that, Matthew. We went and ate somewhere today, and one of the friends asked for a steak, and the waitress said, yeah, sorry, the steaks are down bad today. We had no idea what the hell that meant. I don't even know. Like, I was like, how in the world is a steak down bad? What does that mean?
The steak's back there getting down in the kitchen.
Dude, that steak's sitting there going, oh, damn, girl, are you a parking lot? Or something like that. But I'm like, I don't know what the hell that means.
Since when do you call a girl a parking lot? That's not
I
a good
didn't.
pickup line.
I didn't round out the joke. It was bad. It was bad. So I was like, let's end it there. Well, we got River of Life Ministries. That's it. Damn, girl, you a parking lot?
Damn. Go sideways real quick.
Oh yeah, you know it. That's why I had to stop the joke. But this church appears to be abandoned. There's weeds growing in the gutters, so I'm having a feeling that this is abandoned. But still, with that, thank you for allowing us a hood review. Wait a minute. We got the police department. They look like they're well funded and in action. So let's see what we got down here. Where the hell is the police? Oh, here it is behind us. While I said they looked well funded, I actually meant they're hardly funded because the parking lot hardly exists. It's just dirt.
There's that one cop car that we saw driving around earlier right there in the parking lot.
He's like the sole cop of the town. He's like a cop in a rough Wild West town. He's the only one, and he has the whole building to himself.
They can make a movie out of that guy. Call him Gary's Last Stand.
Oh, wait a minute. Look, they, like, attached to the prison, they have the crematorium here, so that way they can take the defective prisoners and just roast them or something, I'm guessing. Dude, how depressing of a place. Like, this is just a sad place here. I gotta tell you,
I don't think you'll see anybody in Gary in a nice state of mind.
Man, dude, if I see anyone and I say, what's your name, Gary, I'm gonna have already some apprehension to where you're from, and if they say Gary, I'm gonna be like, oh, God bless you, because that's gotta be tough. But thank you,
I like how this thing on Google, I just noticed this, a side note real quick. It says Imagery 2023 Airbus. Airbus takes satellite imagery now? I didn't know that. Yeah, and also it's Maxar and the U.S. Geological Survey. It just lists everyone down here that helped to make the map possible. What I'm glad nice Airbus credits. Helped out. I'm glad Airbus did. And Indiana map framework data. Wait, does that change if we move from state to state? Hold up. Oh yeah, it sure did. It just changed. Let's go down here. Oh yeah, it does. Look at that, actually. Oh, Airbus took this picture too. And then CNS, and then Airbus and Landsat working together, and then Copernicus, Maxar, and the U.S. Geological Survey. Cool. I didn't know that they gave different credits on different places. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And also, Average Joe said he does not go near Gary, and good, because an Average Joe shouldn't be in Gary. They should be elsewhere, away from Gary. But thank you so much, Jay Bagwell, for being a channel legend, one of those great friends that we have. And not only that, helping us to have a hood review, because no stream is complete without a hood review or animal noises from Duncan VR. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one. All right, and the next one is going to go to Ari Soini, who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you very much, Ari, for that support. And Ari says, thank you. And thank you, Ari Sweeney, for being the Kiwi wife and the Finn. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on rolling. Because if it wasn't for folks like y'all, we wouldn't be able to make it possible. And so thank you. And with that, we are on to the next one. And the next one goes to GW North, who puts in a $10 donation and does not leave a comment. But GW North is always repping the Cult of Matt, and the Cult of Matt does take notice, and the Cult of Matt does appreciate it very much. But Enforcer, what say you? Thank you for appreciating the Cult of Matt, because folks like you help to keep the Cult of Matt alive. If it wasn't for folks like y'all, the Cult of Matt would die. So thank you so much once again, and we're on to the next one. And the next one goes to Junebug72, who puts in a $10 donation and says, good evening. And also good evening to you, Junebug. Hello. They said, please take a question from our live chat. Slava Ukraini, Herom Slava, prayers for all who need, sending love to everyone. Good night.
and thank you for the support and helping the channel to keep running. It is folks like you who help to make this channel possible, and if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here right now. Slava Ukraini, and thank you so much once again, Junebug, for being one of those amazing people. We have to thank the Junebug administration for helping to support this channel and make it possible, because of course, support helps us to keep this channel running so we can keep covering the Ukrainians winning this war. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we will make sure to get the question from the live chat.
And this one goes to Xerox Pro, a favorite in the corporate office, who says, what is the range for F-16 rockets?
Oh, good question. What kind of rocket are you talking about? Are you talking about the AIM-7? Are you talking about the AIM-120? The AIM-9? What you talking about? What you talking about? The AIM-9X could probably go like 3 or 4 miles. The AIM-7s, I think, have like an effective range of 25 miles at peak. Because I know some little nerds about to come in here and they're going to go, oh, you're not factoring in air resistance because the AIM-7 is only effective at around 10 miles at 2,000 feet. Shut up. It's 25 miles. So we're going with that. Well, I'm not going with all the stupid, like, I got to tell everyone every altitude kind of thing. It's 25 miles effective range. That's what we're going with. And then the AIM-120, I think it's like, hell, like 60, 75 miles, something like that effective range. It's a very long range missile. So with that, I hope that does address that well. And I'm sorry that I had to go down that little rabbit hole real quick about certain people, because back in the day, I actually got traumatized by the aviation nerds that were on this channel, because they were very violent. Like, they would cuss you out over minor things. Like, one of them wanted to cuss me out because I didn't tell viewers that the Mach, like, 2.5 speed advertised on AIM-9 isn't the actual speed, because it only achieves that at the apex of its flight path, which is just a stupid thing to even bring up, because it's like, of course, obviously, it's not going Mach 2.5 the whole time, and anyways, that doesn't even matter, because, you know, like, why? Why does it matter? Like, it does not matter if it's going Mach 1.6 when it hits the plane. It's still, its top speed is Mach 2.5. It is probably going to reach that in its flight path. Just grow up. It's like, these people are like 50. And that's the thing that blows me away. I'm like, you were 50 and you're fighting over something with a 21-year-old because I'm trying to get out a quick analysis of it on air. Like, that just never made sense about me. So whenever anyone asks like an aircraft fact, I am just ready to go to war about the answer, because I know someone's about to come in here and talk about drag velocity and all this garbage, and it's just nerd crap. Like, and I don't mean to like disparage people who know it, because it's good stuff to know, but you don't have to know that stuff and say it on air. It just makes no sense to mention that stuff because it's inconsequential, really, to just speaking about it. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And also the reason why I'm bringing up that, because as while the example was about airspeed, range is also affected by altitude as well, because like altitudes are like 30,000 feet. That's where you're going to get most of your missiles flying the farthest, you know, like 25 miles, 75 miles, that kind of stuff. But when you hit the deck and you're like at 5,000 feet and 3,000 feet, just because of the density of the air in that, you know, altitude, the missiles are going to deal with a lot more drag, and therefore they're not going to be able to get the same range. But that still doesn't matter. You know, like, people want to know what the effective max range is, and that means you just go with a high altitude estimate and you just state that off. But anyways, I hope that does address that well. And thank you once again for helping this channel to keep on running, because folks like you make this thing possible. And if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be on air right now. So that way I could just remember the land blasting we got from some of these people. And crazily enough, like, I don't mean to harp on these people too much, but y'all want, like, the Lee Spring Army is amazing, but the kind of crazies you run into, it's always the crazies you remember for a long time, because they're just so insane. It's like, I don't even get it. Some of these people have like a blood oath against us because I didn't mention their stupid, inconsequential fact on stream, you know, that had really nothing to do with the missile, you know, and, well, really the answer about the missile or something like that, or the aircraft. And they now have like a blood oath against us where they're like actively doxing us and hating on us and crap for like something that is so minor. And these people are like in their 50s and 60s, and that just blows me away, that people who are 50 and 60 are so immature that they'll get that pissed off over a small thing not being mentioned. I just want to tell y'all, if you have kids, make sure they don't grow up like that, because that is a sad thing to be at like 50 and 60 years old, is someone who gets that angry over a small fact not being mentioned. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one is going to go to Harvey the drummer, who puts in a $10 donation, and thank you, good sir, for that support. And he says, "Hey dudes, my wife beat my ass for donating $1,500 over the last month. I'm sorry to hear that, Harvey." He says, "Give a hood review of Seminary, Mississippi, my hometown. I love the gun review and LSA."
Hey, thank you so much, Harvey. And I hate to hear your next ass beating's coming around the corner. I hate to hear that. But thank you so much. Oh man, and Seminary, dude, that is a small town. I'd say that's like close to Marbury, in Alabama. I'll show you that because, like, scale-wise, very similar. And it's somewhere around here. Here we go, Marbury, right here. It's a very small town, just like that one. Somehow they have a middle school, though. I don't get that because, like, look at the town. Like, everyone lives right here. You just walk to the school, and it's not even. At least it's actually pretty damn big for this many people. I'm kind of like, what the hell is this? So anyways, moving on from that. I forgot about that. That's right outside of Marbury. But anyways, we're going to be moving on from that. We're going to be moving on over to Seminary, down there in Mississippi. Wait a minute, where is this in Mississippi? It's near Hattiesburg, Matthew. Oh. Let's see, where the hell? There it is. Shabuta. Another small town in Mississippi. Man, dude, it looks tiny from Google Street View.
I'm telling you what, we used to come. Is this Shibuya we're looking at?
Yeah, this is Shibuya right here with the artisan well, or the artesian.
We used to come here. We used to come here all the time as little children, just out in the middle of absolutely nowhere. You felt like you could go out to Shibuya and nobody knew you even existed out there. It was that remote. I'm telling you, it's like it's really not that good.
Yeah, it's also a pretty weird place as well. Found that out a little later. Like, just a tidbit, dark history about the place. Shibuya, Mississippi was actually the place where the highest amount of lynchings happened post-Civil War in pretty much the entirety of the South. Did not know that until 2 or 3 years ago, and then I was like, man, that is messed up, because nobody talks about it in the town, but there's a bridge somewhere out here on the Chickasahee River that still exists near Shibuya, and it's where the site of many lynchings happened. And I was like, I did not even know that. That is just bizarre information, and also crazy to think that happened in such a small, inconsequential town in Mississippi. But anyways, moving on from that, and down towards the area of, whatchamacallit? Well, there it is, Seminary. Again, we got to get to Seminary. Moving on down into here, let's take a look. Now, you're saying it's a hood review. I don't think Seminary is even big enough. Actually, this is not that bad. Like, I'm already going to tell you, this is not bad for a small town. This is actually leaps and bounds above Shibuya. And look, y'all still have y'all's railway station.
Oh, it's like Kalira.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot. And also, thank you so much once again for supporting this channel and helping us keep this thing running. But really quickly, I do want to take a look around. We got the Piggly Wiggly. Pretty traditional for the smaller towns down here. And we have a normal restaurant. I'd say this is like a run-of-the-mill, small-town southern restaurant. Pretty good stuff. They always have great food. And then we have, what else? Let's see, that is bait and tackle shop. You got to have a bait and tackle shop, always. And let's see here. What else do we have? We've pretty much already gone all the way down that street. So let's see what a neighborhood street looks like. Well, this is a nice place, actually. I would say that this isn't a hood review. This is more like a small town review. But I like it. I mean, like, this is not
really not bad.
Yeah, not a bad small town at all. Like, you know, a lot of people are always expecting, like, you know, like gold line streets and stuff. But in small towns, you can never expect that. Small towns are small towns. But this is a very well put together and very well kept up small town as far as they go. I would actually give this thing a B+ on the small town rating scale because it is top notch, actually. I would not complain about this at all if I lived here. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And thank you so much once again for the support. And once again, helping the channel to keep on rolling. And also, oh man, you know Seminary's got to be having a rough time because it's just like Shibuya. It's right near one of the major highways going through Mississippi, but it's not going through Seminary. It's right beside it.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Man, that's got to be rough. But with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that addressed that the best we can. And of course, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to John Ramondi, who puts in the $6 donation and says, "Hey, gentlemen, with love and respect from Woodland Park, Rifle Camp Road, New Jersey."
And thank you so much for the support. And thank you for being from New Jersey. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you so much for sending some respect our way. We're going to be sending some respect your way, and thank you for the support. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Edward Brady, who puts in a 5. Says, coffee fund with school coming back. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Let's get it, baby. And I got to thank you for the support. I got to thank you for helping the coffee fund out. And also, not only that, I got to thank you for being here for quite a while, and of course helping us to keep this thing rolling. Coffee is a big thing, and with law school coming back around, and if I go back, which I'm still kind of, trying to consider all options and think about it, if I go back, it will be pretty tough again. I'm kind of, even thinking about it, it's pretty dreadful to think about, because I know I'll be going 20 hours a day, every day, about 6 days a week at least, and Mondays aren't even off days when I go to law school, because the only thing I'm off on Monday for is the stream, because I'm going to law school all day still, and the schedule this next semester, at least for my section, is going to be as tough, as tough or even tougher in some aspects than it was last semester, because we get there 30 minutes later in the day, so instead of getting there at 8 in the morning, we get there at like 8:30 now, but then we also leave around 45 minutes later in the day at like 3:45 instead of 3. So that's going to be adding a lot more pressure, because then I'm going to have even less time on some days to even put together the stream. So thank you so much for the coffee fund, and thank you for helping the channel to keep running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to BC Skyman, the channel legend. And this time, BC does not throw in a comment. But thank you very much, good sir, for that support. And we do appreciate it very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
And thank you so much for the support. BC Skyman, absolute channel legend and an old guard. Thank you so much for putting in the little PlayStation controller, getting a level up. And also, thank you for being here forever and helping the channel keep on running. You said the Enforcer sounds good tonight. I think I do. I think I sound better. Not all the way back, not all the way back into laughing and joking and everything like we normally do, but still doing a little bit better. And thank you so much once again for being here with us tonight. And thank you for caring. And thank you for helping the channel to keep running as well. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Psyops, who throws in a $5 donation. And I was warned by so many channel regulars tonight that Psyops' super chat was so spicy, I shouldn't even feast my eyes upon it, nor read it. So I did glance at it here for just a moment, and I tell you what, Psyops, that is quite a bold, crazy super chat, if I do say so myself. Quite wild. I can't read that off in a million years, but thank you very much for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And oh my goodness, I just read that as well. And what a super chat, Psyops. What a super chat. Now, I got to thank you for the support, and I got to thank you for being a legend. But I don't even think we can touch that thing with a pole. But with that, thank you so much once again for support, and thank you for helping the channel to keep on running. And thank you, Psyops, for being a channel legend. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again.
And the next one goes to Harvey the Drummer once again, who puts in another 5 and says, we just got a new Jeep Dodge dealership in Seminary. Moving on up. And we're known for canoeing down the Okatoma Creek.
Okatoma. Man, all the rivers and creeks in Mississippi always have these cool names. But let me go over here. There's Seminary. And let's go check out that Okatoma Creek. There's the picture. It's a creek. It kind of looks like what the hell's that river? The Cahaba River around here. It kind of looks like the Cahaba River a little bit. Maybe a little bit more.
Except a little bit less nasty though.
Yeah, man, you can't even swim in the Cahaba River sometimes because it's just that toxic. But anyways, really cool to hear that y'all got a dealership. Where in the world is this thing? Oh, here it is. Oh, hey, not bad. And look at the showroom. Not bad at all, I gotta say.
Did they actually price the Jeeps at the prices they should be at, except overpricing those Wranglers to like $70,000 and $80,000? Way overpriced. Let me make the case. A Jeep Wrangler should only be about $45,000 to $50,000 starting price. They should not be insanely expensive like they are today. Like a Jeep Wrangler costs 70 grand. Like, come on now, that's too much.
Man, you're paying for that brand name, but I'm not gonna lie, Jeep is not really a name that you like consider like a Maserati or something, for it to be in that price range. That's a little wonky, I'm not gonna lie. And also you can see all the replanted forests out here too, because they do them like that in Mississippi, where they like plant them in rows like this. You see all the flowers that they replanted. Really cool. But anyways, thank you so much once again for support, Harvey the Drummer. I hope y'all have fun with that brand new dealership, because y'all are moving up in the world. I will tell you that. Near Big Swamp Creek. What a name. But still, with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that the best we can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to that mom who throws in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, that mom, for that support. And she says, I'm at work, so I'm in and out, but call your family. Oh, and some advice. You should do what you're going to do for you, not for us or for anyone else. Much as I would miss you terribly.
And I gotta thank you so much for the mass amount of support, that mom. But I always have a lot of considerations on my mind. I always want to make sure to try and do things best we can. It's almost a catchphrase at this point, best we can. But I always try and make sure to do everything we possibly can under the sun. This last semester of law school was incredibly tiresome. Very tiresome. And very stressful as well. But, you know, kind of feel a little compelled to still keep going with that. But, you know, I don't know. I'm going to consider it. But I do thank you for the words of advice, though, that mom. And also, make sure to call your family. Call your family, folks, because people love to hear it. And with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And 1 second, I want to just really quickly. Oh, look, we can pick a time. Let's go with that. But with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for support, and thank you for the words of consideration there, because I will make sure to consider them. And so with that, thank you once again. We're on to the next one.
All right. And our next one is going to go to Angry Penguin, who puts in a 5 and says, support Penguin.
And support that Pang Lang, baby. But still, thank you so much.
No, he's saying that's a support penguin. Like a support cat.
Oh, the emotional support Pang Lang. Well, I got to thank you for the emotional support Pang Lang, because I got to say, I appreciated Pang Lang here and there, but y'all know what I really started to like lately? Groundhogs. They're kind of cute. Let me go pull one up. Here we go. This little thing. They call it a rodent.
Oh.
That's the noise it makes.
Hey, man, hold it down.
But look at that thing. What a crazy little critter. What do you know? Just a crazy little thing. Look at that thing.
Man, it's a fat rat.
Man, that thing really is a fat rat, but it's a fat, fluffy rat, and that's what makes him cute. And look at this one. Look at that thing, man.
Whoa, bro. Don't pull out the 9.
Whoa, critter. Don't pull out the 9. But anyways, I gotta say, thank you so much once again for support. Thank you for the emotional support, Pang Lang. And also, I like these groundhogs. I'm not even kidding. I think I kind of like them. But anyways, thank you so much once again for support. Hope that does address that well. And maybe that will be my emotional support animal, a Pang Lang or a groundhog. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to John Garner, who throws in a 5 and puts in the happy face.
And thank you so much for throwing in the happy face. And thank you so much for helping this channel to keep on running. And of course, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Panama Floyd, who puts in a 5 as well and says, Angry Penguin, my 5.
Hey, Angry Penguin, my boy. And thank you so much for your support, Panama Floyd. Thank you for giving another shout out to Angry Penguin, because he do be an angry Pang Lang. I will tell you that. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that addresses that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Ari Soini, who puts in a 5 once again and says, Pangu made me do it. Noot, noot.
Noot, noot. And thank you so much for the support. And thank you for supporting us because of the Pang Lang. All your support means a lot and helps keep this thing running. And I got to appreciate you. And I got to thank you as well. And so with that, hope that does address that as best I can. Thank you so much once again for the support. Thank you. Thank you very much. And with that, we are on to the next one. And Matthew, have you noticed all these bots?
Whoa, Mohammed, chill,
easy,
man.
Mohammed, easy. Have you noticed that all the bots are coming in saying Russia has the right to defend itself? Now the narrative is changing from we have the right to stop NATO expansion to we have a right to defense. It's changing over time. It's changing. They're trying out new tactics. But I'm telling you this. Mohammed ain't getting anywhere here. He's getting a boot. But with that, I hope that does.
Next thing you know, Russia's going to be talking about Pangu made me do it. They're going to say it.
And also,
and, you know, funnily enough, we actually know someone mutually that can do pretty much every sound that Pangu can make. The upset Pangu, angry Pangu, Pangu, all of them. Like every single sound. It's really, like, I love to see it.
I love to see it as well. We greatly appreciate that, friend. Although, we jest with him while he's around. We greatly appreciate him. Also, Matthew, I'm
serious. I love the Pango sounds. Like, I'm a huge fan of Pango, for real.
I was told, Matthew, in the chat to check out this marmot, and I saw this painting here from 1605 of a marmot with a branch of plums. And I was like, huh, that's a little bizarre looking.
Wait, this thing looks like it's about to say, "Excuse me, sir, can I have a plum?"
Oh, my Lord. Dude, you know what this thing looks like? It's about to say, it's about to look like, "I need to use the phone. Can I get a fiver?" Something like that. It looks... But you know what's funny?
Excuse me, sir. Do you know where the London Metro runs?
But beyond this stupid looking paint here of this thing, it's not even that fat. They look like this.
Have a plum.
Man, this thing kind of looks like this thing looks like it have a Sam Elliott voice, but this thing here looks like it's like a, "Excuse me, mister, do you know what the mathematics class is?" Dude, this thing has the face of an average Brexit geezer. I don't know why. It's like, what is up with the face of this marmot? Like, what the hell is this?
Oh, it's the whole painting and everything. It reminds me of that thing where, you know, the meme of the guy who's pointing like his finger at his palm of his hand, and the meme was like, "Give me back my blank, blank, blank."
Yeah.
It reminds me of that.
Oh, man. "Excuse me, sir. Give me back my..." Dude, this thing is cracking me up, man. This is such a stupid painting of the marmot because the marmots are thin. Like, all of them are thin. There's no such thing as a fat marmot. Like, even this one. And then whoever painted this damn thing went, "Dude, I'm going to make this thing fat. Like, fat as hell." And, like, it's pear-shaped. It's like a freaking pear. Like, this thing is ugly, but I'll tell you
this. If I want to have a swim in me bin, I'll go and have a swim in me bin, okay?
Dude, you know what this thing looks like it's going to say? "Excuse me, sir, can I buy a hot dog?" Oh, man. Or, better yet, it's going to be one of those viewers, man, in the 10-minute countdown that we've never seen before, and then they act like they've been here forever, and then they go, "Coming up, you're running out of titles, yeah?" And then I go, "You're running out of stupid crap to say?" And then they go, "I'll shock you in your teeth." And then they never do. It looks like one of those. But anyway.
And someone had to come in and throw the left hook at me and say, "It's your mum." I said, "Okay, it's not my mum," and bye-bye.
Oh, man, it looks like someone's projecting a little. Hey, I can't help that your mom has been painted near a branch of plums. I can't help that.
Must be Chris's cousin coming in here trying to save face.
Must be your mum. Must be you fat bastard. But anyways.
Lose some weight, you fatty.
Oh, man. It's like a marafatty. But anyways. Also, I got to give a huge shout out to GW North who gave me inspiration for that joke. But anyways. All right, well, on the next one.
And the next one goes to Halligan218, who puts in a 5. And says, "Do you still plan on running the news stream when you become president? And I would love to see the president doing a Rodney Dangerfield impression." Oh, I'm telling you.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. We get no respect around here. Oh, man, I'm telling you. Oh, man, the Russians, they rolled their navy up. They sat there and surrendered. Oh, man, I'm telling you. We get no respect around here. I pulled out my guns. They pulled out their hot dogs. Oh, man, I'm telling you. Oh, man. And they love sausages. Oh, man, I'm telling you. Oh, man, they really do. But still, thank you for the support. And to answer that, maybe I would still be doing this, but probably not. Because they would probably go, "Mr. President, that's a bad look." And I'll bet you money that if I did that, some news organization out there somewhere, it'd probably be all of them, they would all have a problem with something I said every night. Like, they would go, "He just called someone a fat marmot bastard." Like, that would be on the news everywhere for like 2 days. So probably not. But, you know, maybe. I would hold out hope. I would hold out hope. But with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to LSA Sergeant Figment, who puts in a 2 and says, "I hope you're having a better night tonight."
Oh,
and we are.
We are. And I got to thank you so much for wishing us a good night tonight, LSA Sergeant Figment, because it has been a lot. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And our last super chat goes to Randy Tosto, who puts in a 2 and says, "Can you show BC Skyman's video to Ukraine?"
BC Skyman's video? I don't think we've gotten that.
I think it's on his YouTube channel, but he wants us to show it to Ukraine.
Show it to you. I don't think we could show it to Ukraine. because I don't really think we have that kind of exposure over there. But still, thank you for the support and helping the channel to keep running. And with that, we are on to the next one. But if y'all want to see it here, we will probably be able to show it sometime. And also, left-handed say, your British accent is hysterical. We actually do several different ones. But that one was specifically for the Marmot. I don't know why the Marmot got a British accent when we did that. Excuse me, sir. But anyways, we do a couple. I do this one as well. And I do this one. But I'll do this one. And I'll try to figure out how to do it today. And I'll try to go get a glass of hot water. And I'm thinking that the Glaswegian accent is starting to work out kind of well, but it requires some work. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again to your compliment, left-handed. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And moving on to our live chat questions. Up first, we of course have the Morse code decoders of the stream. And tonight we had Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Paul Schultz, Kevin J, Rumpelstiltskin, Toxic Bananas, Tightline LSO, and also David Millsaps. And also, it says here, tonight's Morse code cipher is, oh boy, the Ukrainians are getting feisty and getting down and dirty with those Ruskies. Long live the LSA.
That's the sound of money. And y'all made it the right message of the night. Congratulations. Y'all got it right. 674 days of the war. Ooh, almost got that wrong there. But 674 days of the war, y'all still getting that dead on the nail. Massive credit. And I gotta thank y'all for doing that again. Now, with that, we're about to be moving on into our live chats. Excuse me, sir. How many do we have?
We have 2.
What? Really?
We have 2.
You're kidding, right?
We have 2.
Man, only 2. I was kind of hoping that segment would be a little longer tonight. But anyways, I guess we're on to the second to last question of the night.
And this one goes to the Uncovered Cube, who says, Enforcer, what percentage chance do you give for the USA/NATO to put its boots on the ground in either war within the next few years?
About a 5% chance, 5 to 7.5%, and 7.5% is probably on the high end. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the final question of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person who threw in the lucky last question of the night?
And oi, bruv, it goes to Octavius Augustus, who says, can you guys compare Russia's starting equipment before the war to the losses? With over 10,000 APCs and 5,000 tanks, they'd be getting low.
Excuse me, sir. Can you compare? But anyways, we can compare. Let's compare Russian equipment. Excuse me, sir. Can we compare? All right, so let's go get the casualty report. Oh! Alright, so, it's moving on down here. We're not counting any of this garbage, because it's just pistols, and that doesn't count. What the hell? Delivered in November of 2023. They probably shouldn't have had that thing delivered, because this thing is a damn crime. I've never seen the
Excuse me, sir. Hot garbage.
Excuse me, sir. You sitting there freaking lollygagging off. This is ugly. But anyways, let's go down. Oh, what? Oh. Hey, look. The Mosin Nagant made it back onto the list of used weapons. What mad respect. And also, this abomination, the KS-23, which is a 4-bore shotgun. Wild crap.
That's called the street sweeper, bruv.
No, this is called the anti-aircraft gun that didn't make the cut, so then they took the remaining parts and literally made them into a shotgun.
They didn't believe in adding any curves to it. It's all blocky and straight edges.
Excuse me, sir. You have a license, but you just get blasted away by this thing. But hey, man, I'm not even kidding. This thing is a 23mm diameter to the bullet, to the charge that comes out. It's a shotgun, but it's huge. Anyways, let's move on down. We got to get to the tongs. Golly P, they're really using a lot of different kinds of equipment. Must be a logistical nightmare for them. Wow. Oh, here we go. Finally, we made it to the equipment that counts. Excuse me, sir. How many did they use? 8,417. So, going off of that, I think that's including the SPGs as well, though. It looks like they would have lost at that kind of a rate at least all the towed artillery, if we're just counting them all by just numbers alone. We're not trying to actually like get an accurate loss rate for each category. But the SPGs, however, which they do have a fairly decent amount of, those probably are, well, based off of these numbers, it looks like the Ukrainians probably would have destroyed most of the artillery forces by this point. So either they're getting new ones out of storage, but it looks like Wikipedia is also including the reserve units as well. So we will have to go, well, are they including the mortars? They're probably including the mortars as well. So I hate to tell you, I wouldn't even know how much they have left in the artillery because there's so many different kinds that they have, including this brand new Koalitsiya, which is kind of like an improvement on the Mista. But anyways, moving on from that, I'm going to be honest with you. I think there's so many different kinds of variants of artillery pieces and tanks. I don't really think we'd be able to get a good idea of what they really have left in anything, because we would have to get a perfect itemized statement of their losses to be able to tell. But I would say they probably lost the majority of their equipment at this point that was active, and they're having to pull stuff out of reserve or out of mothballs, or at least modify stuff to be usable. So I would say that would be my best answer right now, because beyond that, we probably would never be able to end the stream or even give an answer, because it would just be too difficult of a detailed answer to give based off the information we have, or more so the looseness of the information that we have. But with that, excuse me, sir, it's coming in. But still, thank you all so much once again for watching. This is the end of this night's stream, but of course, we'll be here tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the news of the war. Of course, I thank you all so much once again for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. And of course, I will make sure to see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, good night, good luck, stay safe, take care, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die.
And good night, folks. We'll see you all tomorrow. And thank you all for another great stream. And excuse me, sir. Slava Ukraine.
Excuse me, sir. It's time to go to bed.
Yes.
The Lee Spring Army sends its regards.
Русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.